What's going on is Anton from AntonDaniels.com. I appreciate you guys for continuing to rock with me. Thank y'all for tuning in to another edition of the Millionaire Morning Show. I am your host, Anton Daniels. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up? What's going on to my friends and family? How are y'all feeling today? It is Monday, June 29th, 2026, year of our Lord. What's up, friends? How y'all feeling today? Yeah, it was an opportunity to lock in this weekend, and I certainly did so. Certainly did so. What's going on, y'all? How are y'all feeling today? I see I got my dog, Coach Chris, Jesse, Xavier, Vito Royale. What up, Mimi? What up, Phoenix? What up, Will Nola? What up, Sabrina, Onaka, Treese, Leah? What's happening, Leah? John Teal, I see you. AJ Wise, Gerald Sparrow, Mr. Walker. What's going on, Mr. Walker? Sabrina? Yo, what's going on? Okay, yep, that's true. Yep. Um, should be three today. Three different appointments today. Okay, thank you. Bye bye. All right. So one of the benefits of doing a morning show is live is that you actually get to get live phone calls from people that got you doing a morning show. What's going on, y'all? What's happening to my friends and family in the building? I appreciate y'all. Where do you get these questions from, Coach Chris? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Quote of the day is poverty is the parent of revolution and crime. Poverty is the parent to revolution and crime. You're going to have to figure out how to get people some money so they can stop robbing and killing you. We're going to get into that later on today. I'm not going to expound on it, but we definitely are looking forward to having a good show. How was y'all weekend today? How was y'all past weekend, matter of fact? How was your past weekend, this past weekend? How was it for y'all? I will tell you. What up, Walk on Wood? What up to Long Way ENT? What up to Native Poppy? What up to everybody that sent me an email? I got your emails. It's all in order, but I'm definitely going to get to them as I can, and I'm working, man. I'm working, man. Somebody said rent the ESPN room out to me so I can do the Zillionaire Morning Show. You got to become a zillionaire first. Oh, thank you, Bitcoin Brown. I appreciate you. Let me see what's happening in the cash apps and in the super chats, and we're going to get into it. We got a heck of a show. Lot of subjects to cover for y'all today. Shout out to my dog Mike, that dude. I appreciate you. And again, shout out to Mimi uh for last Friday. Shout out to my girl Mimi. I think I got plans for Mimi. I think I got plans for Mimi. Let me read some of y'all super chats and then we'll go ahead and get started with the show. Shout out to Coach Chris. I appreciate you. Let me see what you got lined up today. He said, how many true friends would you say you have? I think when you get past a certain age, you stop worrying about who's a friend and who's a foe, who's a person that's at your door. I think when you get past a certain age, that don't really matter no more. Like I wouldn't know. And you know why? It's because I meet people where they are. I meet people where they are. I'm not focused on whether or not you're true to me or you're not true to me. When you get past a certain age, the wise thing to do is just to slot people accordingly. The wise thing to do is to slot people accordingly. When you get past a certain age, you just want to make sure that you slot people accordingly. You don't want to have people thinking one way and then it's another way and all of that stuff. Nah, we don't care about none of that, bro. We don't care about none of that. We only care about doing good work, doing good business, making a lot of money. I mean, listen, I would say you treat friends the same way that you treat um women. I think it's all the same thing. I don't think it's any different. So, like for example, when you meet a woman or when you interacting with a woman, um, you slot her according to how she treat. Like a woman, in my opinion, teaches you how to treat her. So if she approaches you on some good girl stuff, then you're gonna treat her like a good girl. If she approaches you on thought behavior, then you treat her like a thought. You know what I'm saying? So you treat them according to how you meet them. And so you figure out where people fit in your life and then you go from there. Here's the thing about friendships though. For whatever reason, we think that proximity means that a person is our friend or you spend a lot of time with somebody or whatever, then you automatically translate that. Nah, it's too many other factors that you got to put into that. You got to put character into it. You got to put their situation into it. A friendship is very much just like a relationship when it comes to a woman because you got to nurture it, you got to build it, you think that there's loyalty attached to it. I think that friendships are stupid, to be honest with you, for the most part. I think that if somebody has not been rocking with you for years and years and years, for you to meet them and then automatically designate them as a friend is crazy to me. And the reason that I say that it's crazy is because why would I spend all of that time trying to make sure that you're loyal to me? And don't no box come with that. All a friendship is a requirement without box. That's all a friendship is a requirement without box. So I just think that you meet people where they at. If you kick it with somebody and they cool, then you just keep them in that cool slot unless they show you otherwise. You can't be disappointed in that. You can't be disappointed. So the answer to your question is I don't know. And nor do I care because I'm not even sure how you classify what a friend is. It's some people that I thought was friends. This is what life will teach you. It's some people that I thought was friends that y'all know online. And they was different. They was completely one situation and they was a completely different person. So what am I to do? Am I supposed to continue to slot them the same way or whatever, so on and so forth? Nah. You move them into a different category. You don't take it personal. It's cool. I don't care. I ain't tripping about it. And so sometimes people are in your life for a season and then they leave. And then other times people are in your life for longer than that and then they leave. So I would say I don't know, nor do I care, and I don't think that it's important at this point in my life. At all. At all. I think that everything is on a need basis, and that's when you find out who's who. So just it is what it is. Yeah, just meet them where they are, Dean Murray. Meet them where they are. Listen. Friends are for high school. Friends and acquaintances and all of this type of stuff, that's high school, that's college age nonsense. I fully expect for people to move on and switch up. Family is switch up on you. Why am I putting all of these requirements on friends? Nah, I don't trip off of it. You like a woman, you may love a woman, and then at some point she may switch up on you and say, you know what? I don't really care no more. How do you deal with that? Do you be butthurt? Do you sit in the corner and cry? No. You just be like, all right, no big deal. Next person up. Treat them just like an NBA team. Same thing when it comes to friends. Same thing when it comes to employees. You spend a lot of time in proximity to people that you work with or people that you may supervise, especially if you're a business owner. How do you remain impartial and get rid of them if they not doing what they supposed to do? The only way you can do that is if you do not take it personal. If you don't take it personal, then you'll be able to be impartial. But if you do, if you do take it personal, then it's going to be a problem for you. And most people can't handle that. Most people can't say, even if you can handle it, the person that you firing can't handle it. When you open up a business, I'll give you another example, and we're going to go ahead and get into the show. When you open up a business, the first thing you're going to do is what? You're going to want your friends and family to support you. Hey, send this out on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok. Talk about it. Come up and show up, pull up. Now, what if they don't? You're going to be hurt. And then what if people in the street start to support you? Then you're going to say, man, it's people in the streets that support me more than my own family do, and you're going to be in your feelings. Well, in order for you to not be in your feelings and still be able to have Thanksgiving dinner with somebody, you know what I'm saying? In order to not have your business be dependent on friends and family for it to survive, you become a better business person, you become a better human being, you become more open to experiences and meeting new people because you have to expand your horizons and not be so focused on the people that surround you, because the people that surround you will disappoint you all the time. And let me throw something else in there. Here's a real caveat, Coach Chris. Not only will the people in your life or that you would think is a friend disappoint you, but they will come back around and be like, what's up, man? What's going on? What we doing? What's good, friends? Now, my friends, my true friends, actually, you know what? I do have an answer for you. Let me pull it up. I have roughly 24,210 friends. I have 24,210 friends. That's how many bag chasers. And so when I go to my meetups or when I decide that I want to hire somebody or when I pick from a group so that I can ultimately, you know, those are the people that I rock out with. Your friends are the people that's going in the same direction as you. Remember that. Your friends are the people that are going in the same direction as you. So shout out to the bag chasers. We got a meetup coming in less than a month. Most of those details are down in the Patreon. I want to also say shout out to everybody that's subscribed to the channel. Shout out to all of the Patreon members. I actually dropped a video yesterday. And yeah, man, it's cool. King Michael. What up, my dog, DJ Ace Productions? King Michael. Listen. Let me tell you what I think you're trying to do, King Michael. But the fire truck's out there. Let me tell you what I think you're trying to do, King Michael. Respectfully. I believe that you're trying to get me to react to something that I haven't watched. And so what people usually come in here and do is they say, Anton, I don't like what this person said about you. Anton, I don't like what's going on. Or maybe you just genuinely, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you genuinely just don't like what somebody said about me. And let me give you some insight on what I stand on. I don't see it. Those channels are blocked from my view. And I don't care. I'm so focused on what I got going on. I'm so focused on what we got going on. Um, Somebody said it in the chat. It's almost 9 billion people on this earth. Why would I care about something that somebody said that I don't even know in real life? Come on, man, don't bait me. If I decide that I want to answer something, it's because I just want to answer it. It's not because y'all keep on trying to get me to say something that I don't really care about. And it ain't that I even care. Like, I just genuinely don't care. It's such low-hanging fruit. There are people that I think that are doing some incredible work that's not still in that space. Like, they in those same spaces. Like Poetic Flacco. Poetic Flacco is getting to it. Poetic Flacco is running it up. I watch Poetic Flacco instead of that other stuff because I think that he's doing greater work than the people that may even be so focused on me that they can't tackle the real issues that generate the views. So I don't get caught up in the foolishness, bro. I got new people hitting me up, new collaborations, new money. Me and Stephen A. Smith been talking. We was kicking it over the weekend. We kicked it last week. We talking about some big things. Why would I be focused on a lower hanging fruit? And here's the thing. Sometimes God will remove certain people from your life to make room for the people that you're supposed to be in a room with. Stop being so loyal to the lowest hanging fruit and start being focused on the people that you're supposed. Matter of fact, you know what? Let me go ahead and get into this show. Let me change this real quick.
I ran into a former student today who graduated a couple years ago. And when he was in my class, he was part of a friend group of 3 young black men, all really talented kids. Of those 3, he's the only one who's still in college and the only one who has not had run-ins with the law. One of the friends is currently incarcerated. All bright kids. So I said, well, what's the difference? Why are you currently still on track towards meeting your goals? And he said, I switched up my friend group. Still cool with my guys. Still see them, still care about them, still know what's going on. But I realized that if I kept doing the same things with the same people and going to the same places that got us in trouble in high school, I wouldn't be in college. So yeah, I started hanging around different people, going different places. And of course, it's common sense. But the messaging that a lot of young people get, especially young black men, is you switched up, you sold out, you think you're better than everybody else. When in fact, this is what maturity looks like. And here's the thing, in the neighborhood, if there is a top athlete that the whole neighborhood is recognizes has a unique talent, maybe can even go to the league, nobody is questioning why this athlete can't move the same way as everybody, can't drink, can't smoke, can't eat the same foods, because there is a higher calling on their life, and everybody understands and respects that. It's no different for our students who are enrolling in college or a trade or whatever it is, wherever they're trying to break out of some cycle and do something different for themselves and their families. It requires a different level. And so we need to remind young people that yes, when you're pursuing these new heights, sometimes it means that you have to change your environment or your friend group. That's not switching up, that is wisdom.
What she's saying is exactly what I was just saying to you guys a couple minutes ago. And somebody asked me and he said, Anton, how do you know who your friends are, or how do you know how many people would you call real friends in your life? And so I say meet people where they are, but you also have to elevate. That's the other part of this conversation. You have to elevate. You got to go to another level. And sometimes, especially if you're a believer, God is pushing you out of a room with people that's limiting you and pushing you into a room with people that will actually be aligned with what you're doing and where you're going as far as the goals that you have set in your life or where he ordained you to be. Sometimes I truly believe, and I'm going to keep it 100 with you, I don't even hold people accountable or am mad at people that talk negatively about me that used to be cool with me, because maybe it was God pushing them away from me so that I can get to the next level. Y'all not hearing me, man. We so focused on being mad at the people, and this is why you gotta take a nap. I always that's my slogan for 2026 is take a nap. And what going to sleep does is it allows for you to think logically about something that you feeling some type of way about, right? When you emotional or when you about to jump off a bridge or when you about to go off or when you about to pick up your phone and your device and you about to type something crazy on it. You know what you should do? Put the phone down, grab you a cover and take a nap. Put the phone down, grab you a cover and take a nap. It'll ease that blood pressure. You'll be chilling. You'll be slow motion. When you wake up, you in a good mood. You're not even focused on all of that stuff that you was just talking about. It's a mental thing that I have when anytime I get frustrated, I'm even working. And if the work is not satisfying me, then I'll take a break and I'll take a nap. And when I wake up, I'll be thinking to myself, that ain't even that big of a deal. And guess what I didn't do? I didn't say something online crazy that I otherwise would have said. I didn't jump off of the porch and start to do something that I didn't wasn't supposed to do. And when I start to think about it, because when cooler heads are prevailing, when you start to think about it, when everybody else is all rah 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 and getting mad about it, when everybody else is pissed off, somebody asked me over the weekend, and they was asking me about some people that used to be in my life, and I didn't trip, and I was like, just keeping it moving. But they asked me a rhetorical question because they was expecting for me to say something so that they can go back and talk to the other person, right? But and honestly, I was just like, not a big deal. We slow motion. And the reason why that was so easy for me to stand in was because I just genuinely didn't care. And then they tried to bait me some more. And it was like, well, I heard they said this and I heard they said that. And I was like, man, that's crazy. I ain't talked to these people in so long. Why would I be tripping about something? And that's not even my life. That's not even something that's important to me. There's people there's people that I used to live stream with, right? I remember I did Fight Club. I used to be on panels and all of that stuff. Man, I'm so far out of that way. And when you really mature and when you really grow mentally and professionally, all of the low hanging fruit is going to be in the same table. Say, yeah, man, this and that. And they're going to be talking about you, but they're going to be looking up at you, right? And they can't wait for you to say something, or they're trying to leverage an opportunity to get you to react a certain way. But when you mature, you'll realize that it's not even them. We read the word, we read the Bible all of the time, but we forget all of the lessons. What happened when Moses and Aaron went to try to free the children of Israel from Pharaoh? Pharaoh wanted to free the children, but in order for God to show his miracles, in order for him to show how great he was through all of the different things and the plagues that he put on, all of these people, what did he do? Pharaoh's heart was hardened. That's what it says. It says his heart was hardened, meaning that it wasn't even up to him what God was going to do because these miracles had to be performed. And so he hardened his heart. Sometimes we think that the people that are the obstacles or that are talking about you or whatever in your life is because of them. No, it's because they were put there for a reason and they serve their purpose in your life, and it's to push you to the next level or to pass the test so that you can ultimately go and do the thing that you're supposed to do. Every time that somebody has talked negative about me, every time that I've ever got into it with somebody, or every time that it seemed like it was a falling out, you know what it usually happens in my life? Have y'all noticed even on the internet? I go higher. I level up. I get to the next level. Every single situation that has ever happened where either I fell out or somebody jetted and said I'm not rocking with him anymore, or somebody switched up on me, and I'm not going to name the names and none of that because I don't really care. But every time that I pivot, I level up higher. I go further. I go to another level. I get more money. I do way more views. I get more subscribers. I get a whole new set of people that's in my life that's playing a bigger role in my life every single time, because everything is a test. And you can't get to the next level if you live in your life a certain way without passing a test. You got to repeat it over again. You got to repeat the test over if you fail it. Repeat the test over if you fail it. Because there's bigger things on the horizon. Man, if y'all know some of the conversations that I'm having in the rooms that I'm in and what is going on behind the scenes, I can't talk about it yet, but it's to come. It'll be revealed. You think we're worried about what the people is that you used to know when you used to do this type of content on YouTube? You think that's the conversation that we having? You're in a room with some of the biggest movers and shakers in whatever respective field that you're in, and we're sitting here worried about or having a conversation about this low-hanging fruit over there. Bro, honest to God, on everything, I genuinely wish people the best. God bless you. Good luck. And again, this is the internet. So some of these people you ain't never even seen before. Y'all be getting bent out of shape on people that you've never seen before. Somebody sent me a reaction video this weekend. This is crazy. Somebody sent me a reaction video this weekend, right? So I did it. And it was actually a good video, and it was something that I was like bigging the person up, and I was about to drop it on the Anton Daniels channel, and I knew it was going to blow up. It was going to do crazy views, right? And I looked at the person again, and I'm like, man, this is, And I didn't drop it yet. It was scheduled. And like an hour before it went live, I looked at it again, and I looked at it again, and I looked at it again. And I'm like, let me go to this person's bio. So I went to their bio because I always link back to them in the description of the videos. So I went to their bio and I clicked on their bio, and lo and behold, it was somebody that had said something crazy. They had said some crazy stuff about me before. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. I'm about to try to use my platform to get them visibility and blow them up because I thought that they said something good in a completely separate related video. And so I went and I deleted it, and I went and found somebody else that I could record about. And they'll never know, and I'll never mention them. But it's so crazy because I was just like, man, this person looked familiar. This person looked familiar. Somebody had sent me a video before. And so I just deleted the video and I re-recorded another one with somebody else that was having a similar conversation. And I focused on them. Leave the pigs in the mud, man. Let them play in that playpen. Leave the pigs in the mud and let them play in the playpen. And it's not going to affect them because what you don't know don't hurt you, and what you didn't know that you was going to benefit from doesn't affect you. You don't know what you don't know. So what am I saying to you guys? I'm saying let the pigs play in the mud. Stop focusing so much on what you think people feel about you, and focus more on what you got going on. Focus more on your purpose. All right? God is putting all these other awesome people in your life, and they try like, yo, let me holler at you, man. Let's rock out. And you so busy shooing them off because you trying to hold down the person that's talking about you behind your back. It's time to elevate, man. Again, everybody not meant to go. It was fun. We had a good time. It's like college. Some of the people that you went to high school with, some of the people that you went to college with, y'all have fun. Let them be the Al Bundys. Let them focus on, oh man, I scored 4 touchdowns in high school. I'm trying to score 4 touchdowns every day in life going forward. Everybody ain't coming, bro. Everybody can't come to the table. Everybody can't come to the table. All right? It's very interesting that he asked me that question because I had that video queued up and ready to go and ready to rock out. Don't even say your peers more knowledge. You said it's okay to outgrow your peers. I say it's just okay to grow. It's okay to grow. Right. If LeVar Ball can say we had a good run with his ex-wife, I'm definitely going to say that about people that I used to do content with. All right. I got all kind of people that's been making my life a headache lately. And I was like, send them home. Send them home. Send them home. All right. Let me read some of these super chats, a few of these super chats, and then we're gonna get it rocking. Chris Thomas says, when emotions are high, logic is low. And that's when you want to tap out. Onaka in the building says, we need to get these words of wisdom in a compilation for our young people 10 plus. Get you on the school screen like TV1. Shout out to my girl Onaka. ABJ's wise, strong, and smooth. Y'all think he used to have the smooth part in there too. Says, with the 50 ball, thank you for the 50 ball. Let me read this. Keep my church family in prayer. Our pastor passed away this morning and we're all grieving. I just want to thank you personally for being a great voice of reason, masculinity, and faith in my life, brother. I don't take it for granted. Well, I don't take you for granted either. Prayers up for you and your people and your family and your church members. Man. Prayers up for you, my dog. I love you. I appreciate you. And crazy. I love you, bro. Prayers up for you. Chat. Everybody send a prayer up for ABJ's wise and strong. All right? All right. Let's get to it. In other news, I'm not going to lie to y'all. This broke my heart. This absolutely broke my heart, this story right here. All right? Make sure y'all hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications.
Tonight we have new developments in the shooting that left a baby in North St. Louis dead. Hours ago, prosecutors charged a 10-year-old who they say pulled the trigger with murder. Police say a 19-year-old is also facing gun charges. The announcements came hours after police identified the 7-month-old baby. 5 on your side's Reagan DeTrolio tells us outraged community advocates hope their calls for change don't fall on deaf ears.
This is a very sad and unfortunate incident. This is a 7-month-old baby that just never got to even begin to live life.
7-month-old girl Kiyomi Parker died after being shot at a home here on North Broadway Friday afternoon around 4 p.m. 2 people, a 10-year-old boy and a 19-year-old man, were taken into custody.
This is 2 lives that will be, change forever.
Precious Jones' son died from gun violence a few years back. Now she's fighting to save others from the same fate.
These types of incidents can be prevented.
There's free gun locks provided at every St. Louis public library, including this one in the Baden neighborhood, just a couple blocks off from where shots were fired.
The library is not the first place you would think of to get a gun lock, but they are available for free if you need them.
Librarian Amy Brown tells me gun locks are now more accessible than ever.
Just walk up to any circulation desk and ask for a gun lock.
But there's other ways to get a gun lock too.
You can go to any Phillips 66 Crown Market and ask for a gun lock.
St. Louis Metropolitan Police told 5 on your side the 19-year-old is facing criminal gun charges. What happened leading up to the shooting is still being determined.
We are still very early in this, but a preliminary investigation reveals that the scene of this shooting is contained to inside the home.
No one should be able to purchase a firearm without, purchasing the safety equipment that comes with it. That should just be a mandatory law.
Reporting in the Baden neighborhood, I'm Reagan Detrolio, 5 on your side.
Imagine this, right? Because we are living in crazy times. Imagine the fact that we are now in a space, and I don't know if in any of my time on the Millionaire Morning Show that I've ever seen somebody charged with murder this young. We are in a space where 10-year-olds, I don't know if y'all heard this. I don't know if y'all was paying attention the way that y'all was supposed to be paying attention to it, but a 10-year-old is being charged with murder in St. Louis. 19-year-old is being charged, hit with a gun charge of murdering a 7-month-old. Let me rewind this back because I just want y'all to understand what's really going on right now. We're not talking about grown people. We're talking about a 10-year-old.
Tonight we have new developments in the shooting that left a baby in North St. Louis dead. Hours ago, prosecutors charged a 10-year-old who they say pulled the trigger with murder. Police say a 19-year-old is also facing gun charges.
A 10-year-old is being charged with murder for killing a 7-month-old baby. What in the world are we doing? What in the world are we doing? Now, again, I'm going to bring this up on a regular basis because I want y'all to understand that this is normalized. You are not going to see anybody talk about it on the BET Awards. They didn't talk about this weekend. They was too busy focused on Sylvia Rhone and music executives, right? You're not going to see anybody in the culture do a deep dive on why a 10-year-old is murdering a not even a 7-year-old, a 7-month-old baby. A 7-month-old baby in the hood of St. Louis. I still see people talking about the Carmelo Anthony case, bro. I still see people mad and complaining about whether or not Rick Child got off, bro. Not a celebrity, not nobody. Nobody is covering this content. Nobody is having this conversation. Nobody. White, black, indifferent. Nobody is talking about this in any way, shape, or form and capacity. You know why? Because it doesn't matter. Nobody cares to know the name of the 10-year-old that is being charged with murder, and then for us to say, now, how did we get here? Where are the parents? Where are the people that are supposed to be keeping us safe? Why does a 10-year-old have access to a gun? You know how you know when something is bad? It's two ways that you know when something is bad or that a neighborhood is not what it's supposed to be. The first way that you know that a neighborhood is not supposed to be what it's supposed to be is you'll see churches on every single corner. Because where there's poverty and a lack of resources, you start to see, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with churches, because I love church and I love God. But when you see one on every single corner, I've been to neighborhoods inside of Detroit where it's literally 3 churches and an empty lot on the 4 corners of whatever this street is. And they all competing to get their name up on a sign next door. I'm driving down the street yesterday in the hood, and I look over because I got to go through Highland Park, got to go through Woodward. No, I don't have to, but I was going through Highland Park and Woodward. I look over. Hi, baby. What's wrong, honey? Okay, I'm going to call you as soon as I get off a live stream, okay? All right. I look over driving through Highland Park, and I see a couple, an older black couple like this. And I'm like, and I look at it and they say, there's such and such ministries and come and visit this ministry Sunday and Wednesday. And it's it's the man, it's the pastor man, and he got on a purple suit. And so he's sitting like this. And on his shoulder is his wife, the ministress, or whatever y'all want to call yourselves. And she's sitting on his shoulder like this. And she got her hair tightly curled and the old church curls and whatever. And the first thing that I was thinking to myself when I seen the picture was, who would go to this church based off of this picture right here? Like, I'm not looking at that picture and saying, man, those are people that I want to look like, and those are people that I want to follow. And I think that this person can give me the insight that I need to become a better saint and to go to the next level. But then I start looking at it, and you know how when you talk about something or you look at something and you think about it too long, you start focusing on all of the things that's around. That's a Ray, real talk. Like, I'll give you an example. It isn't until you buy your new car till you realize how many of the same cars are on the road. Then you're like, dang, I didn't even know it was this many cars on the road. Because now you're paying attention to it. In real life, as you drive by it and as you deal with it on a regular basis, very rarely are you actually paying attention to it, but they're all around you the whole time. So when you start really paying attention to something, you notice it more. When you ride a motorcycle or when you take public transportation and you're not driving in a car, you notice things that you've never seen before, ever in your entire life. That you're riding down the street and you like, man, I never paid attention to that building. Man, I never knew that business was right there. Man, I never knew this was right here. Man, I never knew this was right here. You drive by things every day for years and you never notice it around you. That's the same way that it is in the hood. You don't even know you poor or in poverty because you're so used to seeing it every day. Growing up in the hood, you get so used to sirens, you get so used to noise that if you was to move out into the suburbs, you can't sleep because it's too quiet. Because it's normal now. It's normal. So you're going to see churches, two things. The churches on most of the corners, it's going to be 1,000 churches in places in the hood. Because where there is no opportunity, you sell hope. Where there is no opportunity, you sell hope. That is how Obama got elected. I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure that Obama is ever really elected as president of the United States of America unless all of the factors fall into place at the right time. Because just prior to that, nobody could even fathom, nobody could even imagine the idea that a black man at that time, that's why all of the black people got out and voted. That's why a lot of people got out and voted. Because they're like, man, it's the first opportunity for us to see a black man inside of the White House. And it wasn't about policy, a lot of things. It wasn't about anything. It was, he could speak. He could articulate himself. He came at the right time, but it didn't make sense. You know why it didn't make sense? Because not only was he black, his name was Obama. Barack Obama Hussein Obama. Nobody, who is this? Man, when I first seen him bump on the scene, people was like, is this a Muslim? Is he a Muslim and he a black man? No way. Bush had to be so messed up. The economy was so messed up that people were willing to try anything at the time, something different, because they just couldn't imagine. They couldn't fathom what was going on. People were literally killing themselves because all of the value had lost, and they had lost their houses. They used all of that stuff. And so it was the perfect storm, the perfect scenario for him to ultimately be elected, because people were so sick of the establishment and everything was so bad, people are willing to try anything. So what did they sell you? They sold you hope. He had two names. One of them was similar to Osama bin Laden, Obama, and then Hussein, right? Saddam Hussein. And it was like, no way is this guy ever going to win. He was right there because it was so bad. And so his whole message was hope. 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 Me and Michelle. The hope for the things that are not in your grasp right now. And if a young man that can make it all the way to the White House, no silver spoon in my mouth, community organizer, 2 daughters. What makes you think that we can't turn this country around? There it is. The whole book. The book was named The Audacity of Hope. Yes. Yes, Tam. Yes. It was named The Audacity of Hope. And when you can't sell anything to people, how do you get them to hold on without changing their circumstances? How do you get somebody that just lost their house, lost their rent money, and lost every dime that they have in the casino to come back to the casino next week even though they've had a bad experience? Hope. The hope of possibly hitting the jackpot and winning. Man, this would change my life. Hope, in my opinion, is the most dangerous thing that you can have because there's no work behind it. It's just pure desire. I don't even know how they were able to sell us hope. How do you sell hope? But then it makes sense because it's like, well, it's the only thing that people have when they refuse to do the work to change it. And when they can't see anything other than their current circumstance, what do you give them? You give them hope. Hope is dangerous. It's very dangerous because there's nothing tangible behind it. Faith is different because faith without works is dead. When you have faith that something is going to happen, you truly believe it, so you put the work behind it. You know what? I'm going to become successful, so let me start getting myself together. Let me study. Let me do this. Let me do this. God is making a path for me, so I'm going to go ahead and walk through that door. When you just like, hey, man, somebody got to give me something. Something is going to fall out the sky. That's why church is dangerous, because if you don't have the right shepherd, he'll lead the sheep to the slaughter, and he'll have them waiting on something to happen for them when God has already provided you everything that you need to be successful. He's giving you 2 arms, 2 legs, all of your toes, all of your limbs. Your mind is fully intact, and you have an opportunity, and you're born in the greatest country in the world. Go get it. What you waiting on? What you waiting on? Go get it. But if I sell you hope, then I can keep you in the same place doing the same thing and figure out how to monetize you. So now we head over to St. Louis and we see a 10-year-old killing a 7-month-old, and nobody, and I mean nobody, is outraged. Nobody is outraged. I couldn't believe it when I seen this in my inbox. I didn't even believe that this was a real thing. I said, no, this is not real. And then I seen that it was a YouTube video, and I said, nah, it's probably just somebody just making a YouTube video trying to be extra. Then I seen it was from a news company. You know how an official company, it wasn't just somebody just making, rage bait. And I clicked on it and I said, wait a minute. A 10-year-old is being charged with murder? A 10-year-old. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 10-year-old is being charged with murder in St. Louis over the weekend, arrested. will probably be in jail, in prison for the rest of their life. Demonic, a 19-year-old in the same house being hit with gun charges. What was the second thing, huh? Because I said to churches, you know what the second thing is, how you know you're in a bad space? Is that they start giving things out for free that you shouldn't even have to go and get for free. I remember in the 90s when Magic Johnson was like, I have HIV. You know what's a big thing inside of the neighborhoods? They didn't do it in the regular places. They didn't do it in the suburbs. They didn't do it in the well-to-do places. You know what they started passing out? Free condoms. It was the colorful ones. They were green, they were red, they were yellow, they were blue. And everywhere you go, they was passing out free condoms. Hey, y'all, here's some free condoms. Here's some free condoms. Because you couldn't convince people to do the right thing or to protect themselves, right? And so they was passing them out, passing out free condoms everywhere. They was just giving them out, giving out condoms. There was no shortage of condoms because they had to have an assault on sexually transmitted diseases. Yeah, they glue in the dark. Like, why would I need my condom to glow in the dark if it's not even, never mind, don't worry about it. They started passing out condoms. You know what they do inside of the hoods when they have a lot of overdoses? They pass out the Novocaine to revive yourself. And they give out needles. Hey, listen, guys, we're not trying to stop the drug use. We're trying to make sure that you do it safer. So we're going to give you needles. We're going to give you safe needles so that you guys don't pass diseases amongst each other. We're going to give you some Novocaine to wake yourself up so that just in case you overdose and you get that bad stuff, make sure you do it around somebody else so that they can hit you with the Novocaine. You know what they're doing in St. Louis right now? You can go to the library. You can go to the local liquor store or the library. We're using our tax dollars to pay for gun locks. We're not, Narcan. I'm sorry, not Novocaine, Narcan, my bad. Thank y'all for correcting me. You can see I'm not in the streets. They're at the library passing out gun locks. Hey, man, you can come up here and you can get you a gun lock. Lock up your gun. Lock up your pistols. They didn't say, hey, man, we need to arrest the offenders and get the guns off the streets. It's not supposed to be there. They said, hey, listen, we're going to give you guys gun locks and hopefully you irresponsible gun owners, because I don't know anybody that's a responsible gun owner that don't have their gun put up. Hey, you irresponsible gun owners, come and pick up a free gun lock. Is that not crazy? It's crazy to me. Let me say that. It's crazy to me. I think that it's insane. I think it's crazy. Absolutely bad-ass crazy how we are living in this culture and living in society, and we're not tripping about it, and everybody can go to the library and get a gun lock. Ten. 7-month-old. Baby. Hood. St. Louis. Look at the neighborhood. Look at the neighborhood. You know what's so interesting about land? You know what's so interesting about land? Is that it's devalued based off of the people that live there. That's crazy. No other reason. The value of a place is determined by the people that live there. That's why HOAs came into existence. HOAs came into existence to keep out the riffraff and to keep up the property values. Crazy, bro. I can live in this piece of earth and then I can go 4 blocks up across the street and that piece of earth will actually be less valuable. Not because the land is contaminated, not because, it's in a different city, not because of anything. It's this imaginary line in my head that is drawn based off of the demographic that actually lives there. That's insane. You can go 1 mile up the street and get a completely different price that you're supposed to pay. Rich people like for stuff to be overly valued, not because they get anything out of it, but because they can feel exclusive and they can exclude people that's not supposed to be there. You can get so rich, you can get rich enough to where you know that you got a certain amount of money that's coming in, and so the money itself loses value. And the value that they have is in the lifestyle and the experiences that they have. And that's why they price you out. You worried about other people's money and their net worth. They don't care about it. They're worried about how they're controlling their environment and their circumstances. That's why poor people is obsessed with how much money rich people got. Rich people are obsessed with how much power they can acquire so that they can push out and do what they want to do and shape the world how they see it. You so poor that you care about money. You're missing it. I'm in the same conversation. I'm not excluding myself. You can be too poor so that you care about money. Celebrity net worth is made for people to wish that they was somebody else that they not, to keep you worshiping people that don't care anything about you. What am I talking about? I'm talking about culture, our cultural norms. Our cultural norms. Super rich people use money as a tool. Poverty-stricken people worship money. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to your channel, and subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Prayers up for the family of the 7-month-old and the 10-year-old, the 10-year-old that killed the 7-month-old. Diabolical. Diabolical. Let me switch this out real quick. So if I come back to it, it'll be a little bit different. Diabolical, bro. Shout out to St. Louis, man. I ain't even been yet. I can't wait to go and visit St. Louis, bro. I actually want to go and visit St. Louis. Since there's so much crime and it's an opportunity for me to invest in a city that is going to be on the come up. Forbes was created for other people to read about rich people. Benjamin, I don't care about the hearing in real time. I'm going to catch the cliff notes and I'm going to summarize it. The hearing is just to figure out when they're going to do his court date. It don't necessarily mean anything yet right now. Coach Chris says, how did you come up with the concept of room 9? Everybody know what the concept of room 9 is. Room 9 means crazy. All right. It means people that got screws loose. All right. For those of you that may be new here, I got a channel called Room 9. The channel used to be called Fight Club. Actually, it used to be called After Hours, After Fight Club. And then I rebranded it completely to Room 9. All right. That's what that one. That plaque right there is for Room 9. That plaque right there is for the Millionaire Morning Show. That one is for the Anton Daniels channel. And that one, that 1,000,000 subscriber plaque, is for the Anton Daniels channel. All right. But it used to be called Fight Club until they couldn't handle it anymore. And the channel started getting blacklisted. So in order for me to get the channel off of the shadow ban list, the Bad Kids Club list, I had to do away with Fight Club. And I know it's somebody that recently tried to steal the concept, but they don't know what we did. Listen, you can't recreate it. You can't recreate it. It is what it is. It's in history, right? But I started a new channel called After Hours, and then we changed it to Room 9. Room 9 was a room at Hampton Elementary School and Higginbotham, shout out to everybody in Detroit, Hampton Elementary School and Higginbotham, that's the class in elementary school where the kids was in the same class all day. They didn't change classes. They didn't go to gym. They didn't do none of that stuff. And they wore helmets, and they rode the short bus, and they did a lot of different crazy things inside of that room. And you would look in there, and it was some crazy stuff going in. And so I said, you know what? There's nobody that's more off they rocker than us and our audience. So that's what we're going to be. We're going to be Room 9. We're going to be Room 9. And that is the concept of Room 9. Chad from Morris in the building says, good morning, AD. How do you go about finding a home church? I tried in my area and none of them doesn't sit right with me when I go and try them out. There is no rhyme or reason. It's the same way that you find a good night spot. You know, it could be recommendation. It could be word of mouth. It could also be you just going through a straight Google search. I actually was looking it up on Instagram, and I had went to a couple places that I actually thought was really awesome. It was like 3 churches that I had went to, and I thought that all of them did really, really good. And then but they was all outside of the city. And then I seen this guy online, and he was moving from Texas. Really young guy, and he was moving from Texas. He was starting from nothing. And he started his church inside of a gym, inside of like a, not a gym, but you know how one of them gym studios type of whatever. And then he would convert it over into a church and basically put some seats in there or whatever. And so it just grew. And it grew like within 3 years, and it did really, really well. But I got him, I found him in the very early stages of it, and he just truly believed in what he believed in. It was a great community and opportunity. And so I went, and it just hit. It just hit. And so I don't think that there's any rhyme or reason. You just got to try it out until it seems like it makes sense. It's MC here in the building says, appreciate the info, hashtag don't be ghetto, be sophisticated. High Tolerance with a couple of super chats says, good morning, AD and the Bag Chasers. That woman made no reference to holding the parents accountable. She missed the memo, and it's federal law. All firearms bought new or used, not off the street, have a locking apparatus. Well, it's not her. It's a program. Listen, a lot of times these cities and these communities, they come up with these programs and these task force, and they say, we're going to give out needles, or we're going to give out locks or whatever. There is no, okay, well, the people that buy it, they required to do this anyway. Ain't none of that. They're assuming that there's people on the streets with illegal guns, and they telling them to lock them up because they don't necessarily care about the illegal guns right now. They're just trying to keep people from killing each other. Poor people major into minors. Facts. That's a fact. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. I'm going to jump around. Let me see what y'all talking about in the chat. And here I thought Room 9 was based on a horror movie. It is a horror movie. They do wear helmets. Yes, a 10-year-old committed murder. It's pretty insane. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. I just dropped the video yesterday, and I'm recording a video today. I'm on my blogging time right now. I'm on my vlog time right now. Don't mess with the Zohan in the building. Again, make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get to it.
You've had a heck of a week. I mean, the election, the candidates you endorsed won down the line, and you knocked off 2 Democratic incumbent members of Congress. Is this like a unique moment in New York, or is this the beginning of a national movement?
I think we are seeing a hunger that is not just felt by New Yorkers, but frankly by Americans from coast to coast for a new kind of politics, one that puts working people at the heart of it. And I think for far too long, what we as a party have been able to say to New Yorkers who are struggling is simply to explain why they're struggling, not actually offer them a vision for how to make life better. And these candidates, Brad, Daria Lisa, Claire, they ran campaigns that spoke to working people and that said life in the nation's most expensive city need not be this way any longer. And I can't wait to have them as partners in DC in that work.
So do you see yourself endorsing candidates outside of New York, or?
You know, for now, my focus is on this incredible slate of 3 congressional candidates, as you said, the 5 candidates I endorsed who ran and won, who are all going to be heading to Albany in the state legislature. But I do think, as you said, it's not just New York City where working people are asking themselves, why can't I afford my rent? Why can't I afford my groceries? Why can't I find enough money in my pocket for childcare, no matter how hard I work? And I'm so excited that these incredible soon-to-be Congress members will be helping to lead the fight across the country on making sure that working people are right there where they should be, which is the heart of the conversation.
The reaction from Democrats has been something. You've had some prominent Democrats dismissive of what happened here. I mean, you had Senator Blumenthal say the effort to nationalize New York is going to fail. What happened in New York will be really irrelevant by the time of the elections in November. Hakeem Jeffries basically said the same thing.
I'm going to just tell you, most of these Democrats, they not rocking with Zoran Mamdani. The only reason that they're on the bandwagon with him is because he's winning in New York. I mean, I don't think that he's winning in New York as far as policy is concerned, but he's delivering on his campaign promises. Now, the thing that we can debate is if those campaign promises are actually good for society long term. I think in New York, it is very hard to judge because they have a longer runway. They have more people. They have more resources coming in. So you're not going to see it impact or implemented in a way to where it's impactful in a negative way, similar to how you see it in Chicago. And so, but the thing that you can give him credit for and that you have to give him credit for is the fact that he is delivering on campaign promises, and he has the ear and the heart of Democrats across the nation, especially in New York. And so most of these people, the Hakeem Jeffries and all of these established Democrats, they don't like him. They don't like him. They may pretend like they cool with him. They may pretend like everything is all good. They don't like him in real life. He is, in their eyes, a problem for the establishment, and they don't necessarily care for Zoran. They don't care about the Zoran. They don't like him. Most people in politics are fake. Most people in politics are fake. It's people in the Republican Party. That's why they call them, that's where the name rhinos come from. Republican in name only is because they don't really be believing. A lot of these people just be a part of the establishment because that's the way that they can continue to run up a bag. And so a lot of them are now maybe supportive of him. Kathy Hochul don't even rock with him. But she got to put on a good face because she knows that he's popular in New York, where she's looking to get reelected as the governor. I'm pretty sure that Zoran Mamdani, I'm pretty sure he knows that a lot of these people don't even rock with him. He knows. He knows. But you know why I could respect him? You know why I could respect him? Is because I believe that he believes in what he's truly doing. As much as he's eroding New York City, as much as he's ruining and turning it into a socialist state, a socialist city, I think he truly believes what he's doing. I don't think that he's doing it for because he's fake about it. I believe he's doing it because he actually believes that this is a real thing. He's been talking the same way the whole time. And the Democrats can't figure out why he got so much motion. Democrats can't figure out why he got so much. Like, you don't see Gavin Newsom. We're going to get into Gavin Newsom later on today, too. You don't see Gavin Newsom aligning himself with Zoran Mamdani. Gavin Newsom is trying to take all kind of stuff that he done and he throwing it at the wall and he trying to do this and he trying to do that. But the reality is that he just don't have it. He don't have it. He don't have the same thing that Zoran has. It's not a thing. It's not a real thing. Gavin Newsom is not authentic. And so everything that he's throwing at the wall, we're going to talk about Gavin Newsom in a minute. I'm going to bring up his recent video that he dropped a couple days ago about making sure that you tax the billionaires or whatever. He's trying to take the same message that Zoran has, and he's trying to implement it and trying to get the same type of impact on it that Zoran got, but everybody knows that he don't really believe in it. So it's much, much more difficult for us to justify it. It's much more difficult for us to believe that you really believe in the messaging and we think that you fake. Never mind the fact that he was bad for California. But again, we'll get there.
On making sure that working people are right there where they should be, which is the heart of the conversation.
The reaction from Democrats has been something. You've had some prominent Democrats dismissive of what happened here. I mean, you had Senator Blumenthal say the effort to nationalize New York is going to fail. What happened in New York will be really irrelevant by the time of the elections in November. Hakeem Jeffries basically said the same thing, saying that this is not indicative of what needs to happen in November. What do you make of that?
You know, I think that when you ask Americans what they're feeling in this moment, amidst reports of an economy that's strengthening, of a stock market that's booming, you will hear an exhaustion at having to try and make ends meet every single day, every single week, every single month, and that it's getting harder and harder. And so a message of fighting for working people, we don't have to nationalize that message. That is a national message. It's a national crisis. And for far too long, all we've had to say as a party is opposition to the current administration. What do we have to say beyond that? And what these candidates offer is a vision that extends beyond the midterms, it extends beyond 2028. It speaks to what makes so many of us proud to be Democrats. It speaks to a vision that goes back to a New Deal understanding of what working people deserve. And I'll tell you that for too long, that kind of politics, you can only find it in history books, and we need to bring it back to the present day.
And you're hearing some not just dismissive, though. There's resentment. And this is from fellow Democrats who think that this could jeopardize Democratic chances in the fall. I mean, you've got Josh Gottheimer, a Democratic member of Congress, says, many of us believe, as do I, if you're a socialist, you are not a Democrat. And in fact, they put out a manifesto today. I don't know, have you seen this thing?
Sounds pretty socialist to me.
It's not a communist manifesto, it's a moderate manifesto, saying, we are capitalist, not socialist. We believe in a growing, fair, and competitive economy, entrepreneurship, ownership. I mean, this is a direct response, they've made it clear, to what you did
don't like
here
him, bro.
on Tuesday.
Well, I mean, you know, that's great, but what's a party if not its voters? And I'm proud to sit in front of you as the mayor of our city, having received more than 1 million votes, a little less than a year ago. And when we're talking about these incredible congressional candidates, they won their races, and they won their races with a vision of what politics should be, and one that actually speaks to working people. And for a lot of people who ask themselves, what does democratic socialism mean? And you can tell them the answer at a theoretical level. It's the choice to extend democracy from the ballot box the rest of their lives. But in terms of what it means over these last 7 months, we've seen a city with democratic socialist principles at the heart of it within our administration. And what we've delivered has been record lows when it comes to murders and shootings.
So is it pragmatic democratic socialism?
I think democratic socialism at the heart is pragmatic, because if we cannot deliver for working people, then what is this for? I'm not interested in writing a manifesto or frankly in reading one. I'm interested in delivering, and that's exactly what we've been showing.
But they're saying that if you're a socialist, you're not a Democrat. I mean, is there room in the party for both of these views?
Yes, here I am. Here are so many more. And I think what makes our party a beautiful party is the fact that it's a big tent, that we have
But you've also said it has to be a party with a spine, with a backbone.
Yes,
So
even a tent has to stay up.
Yes, so, you know, does it have to stand firmly for these ideas that you're talking about that others are calling dangerous?
I think it has to stand for working people. And I think it has to be willing to fight for working people. And I think that there are some who are offended by the prospect of a party that knows who it fights for and goes every day to work for that. Because what we've seen over many years is a willingness to not only explain away the status quo, but frankly even to look to benefit from the status quo. And that's not what working people are looking for from our party.
As New Yorkers were going to vote, you said something interesting. You said the race for 2028 starts now, the presidential race. What did you mean by that?
Well, a lot of pundits ask me about this race. And
Well, it really doesn't matter as far as him actually enrolling in the race. Gavin Newsom, all of these other Democrats, anybody, Kamala Harris, they would fear him if he had the ability to win president. Thank God he doesn't have the ability to win president because people want a Mamdani. He'll probably be mayor of New York for as long as he want to be mayor of New York. So he got a lifetime seat in New York, but he can't run for president, but he can give the endorsement of somebody that ultimately runs for president.
what it means and how to think about it. And at the core of Tuesday's results was a message from Democratic voters across the largest city in the United States of America
He does have
about
to
the
give
kind
the
of
gab.
politics they want to see. And we know that we oppose the cruelty of the federal administration. What is it that we stand for beyond that?
So you can't just be anti-Trump,
Can't.
obviously.
You got to have something you are not just willing to stand up for, but that you're also willing to explain how this is relevant to working people. And I think this just comes back to the fact that I'm leading a city that's the wealthiest city in the wealthiest country in the history of the world. I could end
Which
the
is
sentence
crazy.
there and say that life is great for 8.5 million people, but it's also a city where 1 in 4 are living in poverty. And for far too many Americans, those contradictions have become their day-to-day life. And we need a party that's able to recognize the strengths of this economy and understand that it hasn't reached enough people.
Now, you know, there's been a lot of attention. One of the candidates you supported who won, who knocked off an incumbent Democrat, is Darlisa Villa-Chevalier. She said some very controversial things, including calling for the abolition of prisons, couldn't say whether or not somebody who had committed murder should be in prison, called for open borders against all deportations, including those of violent criminals. Are those positions that the Democratic Party could win on nationally?
I think what the Democratic Party can win on nationally is a focus on working people. And I think that what I saw from Darlisa when I would walk the streets of her district was a focus on what she describes as a politics of life. She would talk about how we have to invest in babies, not bombs. She's now going to represent what is one of the poorest districts in the United States of America. And what people in that district are exhausted by is a politics that has justified the spending of tens of billions of dollars in killing civilians overseas while working people are struggling just to do the basics.
So I'd like to think that he's smart enough to know, because he's no dummy, right? And let me tell you why I hate politicians. And I don't know if I would ever be able to truly, truly embrace being a politician because it's such a bad, snaky place to live in. Our military and our military might, and I've explained this to you guys over and over again, so for some of you, this may be just you already heard this 1,000 times before, but I'm going to say it again. Our military is the greatest investment that we have. There is nothing that is more important than our military. Our military is the reason why we have control that we have in the Middle East. It's the reason for our relationships internationally. It's the reason why people have to do what we say do. It's the reason why people embrace the petrodollar as their reserve currency. It's the value of our dollar. It's the reason why people trade in the American dollar. It's the reason why the majority of oil purchases in the world internationally is made with the petrodollar, okay? our bases and overseas, military, all of this type of stuff, all of that is because of our military. Everything that we do and all of the relationships and why people choose to invest, all of the trillions of dollars in the manufacturing that's coming back here, all of it is because of our military. All of it is because of our military. And so there's proxy wars that are always being fought, and then there's overt wars that are more physical in front of your face that are always being fought. So if you sit here as a politician, and again, I would like to think that he's very smart so that he knows better. If he's sitting here saying babies, not bombs, right? Because Democrats have always been the party of war itself. Biden, Afghanistan, leaving all of the equipment over in Afghanistan. Obama, right? Syria. I didn't say Siri, stop. All of these things have always been a thing in our culture and in our society. All right? And in order for you to exert your might and your will so that we in the U.S. and him, people in New York, can then benefit from capitalism and then try to make it seem like it's real socialism. No, it's not. It's just a message. So then he'll give you this message and he'll say, hey, we need to invest in babies, not bombs. Babies, not bombs. Babies, not bombs. If you don't have anything to offer the world, as crazy as this sounds, because this is a personal lesson for most people, if you don't have anything to offer the world, even as a country, guess what? They'll let y'all wipe yourselves out. Genocide. They'll let warlords come in and take over. They'll destabilize your entire country. If you don't have some kind of resource-rich minerals, a way for people to offshore their accounts to hide, to align with this particular country so that you can ultimately do this and do that, right? If you're not an oil-rich country, if you don't have a super strong military and a strategic position, in the world to where it's difficult for somebody to come over and take over, if you don't have some force, some kind of value to offer the world, you will be a poor country. You will absolutely be a trash, poor country. Trash, poor country. So when we talk about these investments and all of these ways, because there's always a lot of talking points for people that are surface level. It's always talking points for people. You don't have something to trade, right? China, for example, is a oil poor country. But China didn't really start to boom until they could leverage cheap manufacturing to ultimately then build themselves up, which they then started to partner with other countries and buy a whole lot of oil and then built their economy off of the backs of Americans because we decided to leverage cheap labor. What did China have to offer? Cheap labor. They had a lot of people and they had a really cheap labor pool. And so what did? We outsourced manufacturing to China, as did the rest of the world, so that they can import cheap parts and then they can build up an even higher profitability for most of these companies. But we sold off our future because we don't make anything here anymore. And so now China was able to build up their entire country based off of the backs of everybody else. Now you see over, and we're going to get to VW and all of these other places later. Now you see all of these other countries at the will and at the might of China, including Africa. And they saying, well, listen, we don't really have any choice to allow for them to be able to export all of their products, including their stupid EV cars, over into our country. You got to be able to exchange something to be of value. A lot of y'all like to go into these, I like to relate it back to regular life. A lot of y'all like to go into these networking events where a bunch of poor people is all in the same place at the same time because you don't really understand what networking means. Your entire life, you're supposed to be networking. When you're in school, you're supposed to be around a certain friend group. That's going to be successful. When you're in college, you're supposed to be joining certain clubs and being around certain people so that you can continue to leverage that network to be successful. In order to be in that successful network, you have to do what? Offer something of value, because nobody is going to let you around them just because you're not that cool. Nobody is, unless you're a chick that's giving up some box. That's the only chick that can get around people without offering any value. And you know what her value is? Her body. Her body. What value do you have or do you bring to the group? That's how people determine who they're going to be in a relationship with. That's how people determine whether or not they want to hang around you. If you're going to get invited to this and that, okay, well, motion, you go, who was that? Who was that? What's the first thing that people do when they see somebody that, that they're not familiar with, that they're interested in finding out about? Who was that? Oh, yeah, who they with? What do they do? Oh, word? That's crazy. Okay, all right. What's up, big dog? I heard about you. I heard you've been doing great things. Okay. Yeah, nah, I'm just chilling. People want to know who you are. Get some motion. Get some motion, and then you get some money. Or get some money, and then you get some motion. And then you'll be able to add into the group and multiply it a lot easier. No networking event makes sense. No networking event makes sense at all. At all.
But how does abolishing prisons or having open borders fit into that? I mean, do you see how those are ideas that a lot of your Democrats that are warning about what happened here say are toxic. Most of America won't go along with it. Are bad ideas. They're dangerous ideas.
I think what the focus of her race was, what the focus of her candidacy was about the struggle that working people are facing. And I think that we can have disagreements on policy positions. What we have to agree on is what are we fighting for and who are we fighting for? She showed that in her race, and I think that many people will come to appreciate that in her leadership to come.
So we can disagree on something as basic as whether or not there should be prisons?
That's
not your position.
There are prisons,
yes.
And what we're also showing in this city is that safety is not something that's up for debate. It's something that we're actually delivering on. And I'm proud to be the mayor of a city that currently has the lowest recorded number of murders and shootings in recorded history in New York City.
So there was also a take, it's not just Democrats, you've probably heard what President Trump had to say about you and about the candidates you supported, and he warned that if socialists win, and he calls you communists, but you will start living in squalor. There'll be no food, no housing, no military, no law and order.
He was also speaking about the rent control. So Mamdani recently won 1 to 2 years of rent control in New York City, and a lot of landlords were complaining about it, but we'll get there.
There'll be nothing, and he had a few other choice words. By the way, he also said he still likes you. But what do you make of what he? I mean, the Republicans are going to make you the poster child for the Democratic Party.
Let them. We don't have to ask ourselves what life looks like if a socialist wins. I won last November, and over the course of these
You're not
last
even
6
trying
months,
to hide it.
what we've delivered for working people are the very things we were told were impossible. We've delivered free childcare for 2-year-olds for the first time in New York City history. We've delivered tens of millions of dollars back to tenants who were taken advantage of by bad landlords. We've delivered 165,000 potholes being paved. And we've done all of these things while also delivering the lowest recorded crime in our city's history. That's what it looks like to have democratic socialism. And what you're seeing is that New Yorkers experienced this for 6 months and made the decision that they wanted to see more of it on the national stage as well.
Can a democratic socialist get elected president?
I think a democratic socialist can get elected anywhere across this country for any position. What I think we need to bring is a focus on working people.
And that's the direction that the party should go in terms of selecting a candidate for 2028.
I think the direction that the party should go in is how best to fight for working people. I think we need to have a platform and a vision that doesn't sound as if it was cooked up by consultants, but instead one that you would say in response to someone who's asking, why can't I afford my rent? Why can't I afford my groceries? Why can't I afford my childcare? We need to make clear who we stand for, how we're going to stand for them, and that we're actually willing to fight for them when the going gets tough.
Obviously, Israel was a big issue in these races. Not the only issue, but a big issue. Is there room in the Democratic Party for candidates off officials who support Israel, not just support Israel, but support military aid for Israel. This was a huge issue for you.
Well, I think what we've seen is that the time for us as elected officials to pronounce what the party should be is one that should come to an end, and we should let Democratic voters themselves take the lead. And we've seen on Tuesday evening, we saw Democrats turn out in districts across the city to make clear that they were tired of tens of billions of dollars being spent in our taxpayer dollars to violate international law, to kill thousands of civilians. And you and I know that right now, the way that Palestine is described is as if there is a ceasefire. That's the language that's typically used. Yeah. More than 1,000 Palestinians have been killed in that ceasefire. And what New Yorkers want to see is a politics of conscience, a politics of clarity, a politics of conviction. And to follow international law, to believe in the humanity of all people, it shouldn't be a journey too far. And I think that our party needs to hear what Democrats are telling it.
Democratic Socialists of America now says they no longer favor a two-state solution. Is that the way you see it as well? The idea of two states, Palestinian, Jewish state side by side living in peace?
The way I see it is equal rights for all people. And I think that that's the truth for Israel. It's the truth for any country in the world. And frankly, as we're coming up close to the 250th anniversary of our nation, one of the things that makes me proudest to be an American is the belief that equal rights are at the bedrock of our notion of what it means to be an American.
And the idea of a Jewish state, Israel is a Jewish state, that's in the charter. That's the way it is now. Do you support that?
I've said time and again that I support the state of Israel as a state with equal rights. I believe that any state that preferences...
But as a Jewish state is the question.
I think any state that privileges one religion...
He is not going to change that messaging. He is going to stay on point with that messaging. You are not going to get him to change up his messaging at all. I think any state. But what is specifically about the Jewish... listen, I'm saying any state. But listen, I want you to speak specifically about that. So in this instance, any state, all of them.
Over the other is one that I can't tell you I support, whether it be Israel or Saudi Arabia or anywhere else. And a lot of that comes back to a fundamental belief that we should all be considered equal no matter what our faith is.
How big a problem, you said it's rising, is anti-Semitism in this city?
We've seen anti-Semitism rise in this city. We've seen the fact that Jewish New Yorkers comprise a minority of our city's population and yet continue to constitute a majority of the hate crimes that have been purveyed in this city. And that's something that's unacceptable. It's something that we will never come to see as if it is a part of life. It's something that has to be fought and rooted out of every one of the 5 boroughs.
He is very, very, very skilled and good at what he's doing and what he's saying, and he's going to continue to control what's going on in the Democratic Party as long as he stays on code and he stays on messaging and he doesn't deviate away from the thing that got him elected. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn your notifications. We're going to Gavin Newsom next. Wesley Turner says communism is a path to societal entropy. Shout out to Wesley Turner. I appreciate you. High Tolerance says faith without works is dead. Says the man who reads from the Quran, talking to the black crowd in the church, smooth operator. Shout out to High Tolerance. San Juan says prayers up for your father, bro. Who is this? Pint for Pint? Prayers up for your father, bro. What's going on with your father? Man, what's up with y'all? What's going on with all of y'all family members and y'all church members and all of this stuff, bro? What's going on, man? Prayers up. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. I want to give a shout out to the sponsor of the show, Teach Henley. Teach Henley, 40% off your first order, 20% off of life. It is a phenomenal, phenomenal product. I don't even have nothing on my desk right now. It's a phenomenal product. Tej is the sponsor of the Millionaire Morning Show, Anton Daniels, and After Hours with Room 9, and we redoing that whole channel this week. So shout out to Tej Henley. We appreciate you, Tej, for holding us down. And then also, on top of that, is 40% off your first order, 20% off of life. The link is in the description for you to get your Tej Henley. Again, it's the dope product. Ladies, get it for the fellas. Fellas, don't wait for the ladies to get it for you, all right? As well as tapping into the Patreon. The link to the Patreon is in the description. I just dropped a video yesterday And we're going to do a live stream on Wednesday. Maybe Thursday. But I'm thinking Wednesday. Live stream on Wednesday, all right? All right, y'all. I want to go over to Gavin Newsom really quickly. And then we're going to take our usual music break. So Gavin Newsom is trying to take a page out of Mamdani's book. You don't believe me? All right.
It's time for a national billionaires tax and a new social contract. Think about this, just 10% of people in this country own 2/3 of the wealth. A 30-year-old, for the first time in American history, is not doing better than his or her parents. That's a 5-alarm fire. American wages have stood still, and the costs across the spectrum, cost of living, have skyrocketed. The system is fundamentally broken. The federal tax code, the corporate tax code, and the inheritance tax code seem to be written for a different set of Americans. It's time for an economic reset, a true minimum tax on billionaires that, well, ensures the people at the very top pay at least the tax rate their own workers pay. We also should end this tax-free lifestyle loan. This is the gimmick that allows the ultra-wealthy to borrow against their stock portfolios while reporting no taxable income. We also have to rewrite those inheritance rules so that the largest intergenerational wealth transfer in human history, estimated by, well, be $124 trillion that will be changing hands, doesn't lock in a permanent American aristocracy of inherited wealth. Time as well to return to the pre-2017 corporate tax rates, and time to close those offshore loopholes once and for all. And as AI reshapes the country, every American should own a piece of the future it builds through a national public equity fund. Trickle-down economics, it's been a, well, nearly 50-year experiment that has failed. Record corporate profits flowed into stock buybacks and executive compensation. It's time to stop pretending otherwise.
I think that this is the most scripted person that I've ever seen in my entire life. The first thing that I would ask you guys is, how's that working out for Californians? I don't think that we should be rewarding politicians with their pitch for presidency, because let's remember, he is a lame duck governor in California, meaning that he cannot run again to become the governor of California. Now, with that being said, what is he pitching you? He's pitching you his early presidential bid and the messages that he thinks is going to resonate with the people that ultimately determine who's going to represent the Democratic Party in the election. And so he's making his pitch right now. He's testing the waters. He's trying to see if he's going to get any motion, if the people going to truly rock with him. And Gavin Newsom wants to become president of the U.S. He definitely wants to win the nomination, and he wants to be promoted from doing a bad job over in California, which I think is absolutely insane. He wants to be promoted for doing a bad job in California. And you know that there's people that truly believe that he could be presidential. So now what his pitch is, which is disingenuous, is we need to close the loopholes that allow for billionaires to be billionaires so that we can overly tax them instead of creating a space where they can pull out the equity in whatever it is that they're doing and pay a sufficient tax rate, even though they pay the majority of the taxes in the U.S. Right? Think about this for a second. How can you tax, because it sounds good to the people, but under no circumstance should you be able to tax the unrealized gains? What is an unrealized? How do you tax an unrealized gain? All right, let's have a little one-on-one session, and we're going to get out your calculators, ladies and gentlemen, and Anton from AntonDaniels.com is going to teach you why it is impossible and why it's unconstitutional to tax unrealized gains. Well, Anton, what is an unrealized gain? An unrealized gain is something that you haven't had profitability on yet because you haven't actually sold it. I'll give you an example. The easiest example for me to use, a home. Let's say you have your home and you bought it for $200,000. Let's use just a basic number. You bought a home for $200,000 and you paid it down $100,000. So now you have $100,000 in equity into that loan and you owe $100,000 left, right? You've been paying on it for however many years, 15, 18, 20 years. You had a 30-year mortgage. And so you got $100,000 left to pay on it. Now, on top of that, the value of the home actually goes up, right? So you bought it for 200, you 100 in, which means you owe 100 left, and the value of the home actually doubled. So now you bought it for 200, the home is worth $400,000, you owe $100,000 on your loan. That means that the equity, right? The equity is how much the value of the home is minus how much you owe. That means you have a $300,000 equity into that home. If you paid it off and you owned it outright, you would have a value of $100,000. But you have $300,000 in equity into that home. Now, what if somebody says, I want to tax you based off of the value that you have, even though the gain is unrealized? Meaning that when you sell your home, the difference in what it cost you versus, and I'm going to look at it as an investment property. Let's say an investment property. When you sell this investment property, the value of it, you should be taxed on it before you actually sell it. Let's say you own a stock. Let's say you got equity from your job, right? You got a bonus in equity or whatever. Now, instead of you having a capital gains tax is you're taxing whatever the profit is, and you have a flat capital gains tax for whatever the profit is. When you sell it, they're saying we need to just tax them anyway. CEOs take a base salary, that's the minimum they need to survive, most of them, and then they get bonuses and equity. That's not vesting, and they can't sell it until a certain time, right? That means, hey, listen, I created this, ran this CEO. I'm Disney, the CEO of Disney. And this is how many in stock options you gave me. You paid me as my bonus. And actually, the value of the company is going up because I did such a good job. What if the value of the company goes down? How do you determine when to tax somebody when they didn't even sell the product that they own? When they didn't sell any of the assets that they have? Now, they're pitching this to you guys as a billionaire's tax, okay? What's so interesting about a billionaire's tax is notice how they skipped millionaires. Because the pitch used to be, from Bernie Sanders and all of the rest of these cronies, the pitch used to be this: nobody should be having a crazy amount of wealth and be a millionaire in this country. That's the Bernie Sanders pitch, and AOC and all of them. But Gavin Newsom is allegedly worth $20 to $30 million. So, interestingly enough, they've opted out of using the word millionaire because they're all millionaires now. So the play is to say, well, listen, we don't like these billionaires. We don't like these people with an absurd amount of wealth. What he's not going to tell you is that he's a part of the top 1%, and then a part of that top 1%, he's not looking to be taxed. So now they're switching it up. They're not going to say, hey, tax the 1%. They're going to say, tax the billionaires because they're all millionaires now. Aha. Aha. But people at the bottom, people that don't understand how money works, people that don't understand that this is ultimately going to come back to you as taxpayers, they eat it up because it's easy to digest. Hey, tax the billionaires. Nobody should be a billionaire. Now, they don't want to actually understand how economics work. They don't want to know how people get paid. They don't really want to know how you're going to be affected, and you ultimately are going to be the person that pay all of these taxes because it's going to be holes in the budget deficit and all of that stuff. No, it's much more attractive, much more beautiful for them to just give you a slogan and for you to say, well, Anton, what about taxing the billionaires? And if Anton don't agree because Anton understands how money works, and I don't necessarily care about a billionaire, but I understand how money works, and I believe in our Constitution, and I think that things should be fair across the board. Now, if I don't agree, they're going to say, oh, you a sellout, or why are you trying to support billionaires? I'm not supporting billionaires. I'm supporting the opportunity to get rich and do what you want to do without having the federal government take all your money and think that they can manage it more effectively than you. They can't manage your money. All they do is spend, and steal. They can't manage your money more effectively than you. It's unconstitutional to think that somebody should be taking your money and managing it more effectively than you, regardless of how much it is. Because who's to stop the thousandaires to say that we need to tax the millionaires? Because they are not millionaires. Until they become a millionaire, then they say that, you know what? We need to be focused on the billionaires. What's stopping them? What's stopping them? A lot of y'all are all for it until you become of it. And then you want to be wait, whoa. We don't want to do that. Because then it becomes egregious because you're a part of the gang now. So in order for you to not become public enemy number one, you got to join in as a part of the majority of the gang until you become a part of the other gang. Then they're going to say, oh man, we don't believe in this. We don't believe in this. You know why? Because you're a part of the gang now. Nobody cares until it's them. Nobody cares about fair until it becomes unfair for you.
We're nearing the 250th anniversary of this country's revolution.
And they can't manage my money better than me.
The system the American founders built, well, was designed to prevent the concentration of power in a few hands. But we've allowed that concentration to happen anyway, slowly and in plain sight over the course of decades and decades. But we can reverse it. We can reverse it together. It's time to democratize the American economy to save our democracy.
Governor Newsom hasn't made it official, but political experts say he's showing more signs he's ready to launch a 2028 presidential bid.
Yep.
A video the governor posted today is leading to even more speculation. CBS LA political reporter Tom Wade joins us now. So, Tom, what did the governor say?
Well, we'll get into that in just a second, but I think to your point, I think the speculation, right, is probably what he likes. We're talking about it. And I think he wants to be part of the conversation, not be overshadowed.
Testing the waters.
Right, there you go, exactly. So the governor is laying out his positions on a number of economic issues in this video, taxing the wealthy and rich corporations, things he talked about, nationalizing AI profits.
You know what's so interesting when I look at these videos and stuff like this? Sometimes just a random observation. You know what's so interesting looking at these videos, like from the news and stuff? They have all of this technology. They make all of these investments. They spend all of this money on people. You see the screens in the back and the backgrounds and all of this stuff in the studios or whatever. And they cameras still look like that they record on potatoes. And then I have to come back in and remaster their audio just so we can hear it, because if we played it based off of what they put out, then it would be trash. Why are news stations so behind when it comes to advancing their camera work and doing what they need to do for social media?
Political experts say if he's not running for president, what would be the point of posting a video like this and trying to reach a wide audience?
It's time to democratize the American economy.
Governor Newsom raising eyebrows after posting this clip to social media on Friday. Newsom, who has only once publicly mentioned his possible run for president in 2028, appears to be staking out his positions on key national issues.
It's time for a national billionaires tax and a new social contract.
The billionaire tax, a key issue as California voters will decide this November on a ballot measure on whether to impose a one-time tax on the state's billionaires to cover health care cuts from the Trump administration. Newsom trying to make clear he supports taxing billionaires, but on a federal level. He says if it's done by state, that allows billionaires to move and take their tax revenue with them.
The politics of his party, as we saw this week in New York, is becoming very socialist. And so a billionaire's tax would be a popular, left populist idea. The problem is if you do it in California, most people agree, including even the teachers union, that you're probably going to bring in less money to the state.
I don't think anybody doubts that he's going to run for president, and he has to be able to manage this message. And that's what he's trying to do.
Newsom argues for higher taxes on corporations, limiting wealth inheritance, even pushing for nationalized profit sharing for AI.
And as AI reshapes,
and he stole
the
that
country,
from Andrew Yang.
Every American should own a piece of the future it builds through a national public equity fund.
Economic populism experts say that Newsom hopes will land with the base.
This is definitely an effort by Newsom to appeal to the progressive wing of the Democratic Party. Even though a lot of Republicans would regard him as a liberal, a lot of progressives regard him as an establishment Democrat.
On the billionaire tax ballot measure, there is some rare unity between Democrats and Republicans. Gubernatorial candidates Democrat Javier Becerra and Republican Steve Hilton also both oppose the ballot measure for the same reasons, concerns that it will trigger an exodus of the state's wealthiest taxpayers.
You know what's so interesting about Gavin Newsom in this whole situation is that he's actually opposing taxing billionaires in California. I want y'all to see what's happening here. And they're not going to have this conversation. I wish I could be a moderator for this upcoming election in 2028. We're going to make a lot of money. We're going to get a lot of bags. But he's actually in opposition of taxing the super wealthy in California because he knows that they are leaving the state in droves. In droves. They're leaving California in droves. So, if it won't work for Californians, why do we think that it should work for the United States? I don't think that he thinks that it's going to work. Every politician, Obama, Bush, Clinton, all of them has promised the same thing. Oh, we're going to close these loopholes, or we're going to tax the ultra wealthy, or we're going to take their money, we're going to take their resources, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. And you know what they wind up doing? Bending the knee to their donors, but it sounds good to the people, and it's the thing that can get you elected, and people eventually forget what the message was that you ran on in the first place. Don't believe me? Cool. Test. For all of the people in the chat, test. You ready? You ready? Pop quiz. Time to wake up. Pop quiz. What was Kamala Harris running on, right off the top of your head? Without looking it up, without trying to think about it too hard, what did Kamala Harris run on? Boom, boom. Price gouging was a good one. Nobody knows. Everybody's just saying anything. Greens in the tub. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. She did abortions. That's another one. She said she was going to build a bunch of homes, affordable housing. Yep. But you see how it's so difficult for people to even remember what she was talking about? You know why? Because people have short memories. You know what's real tripped out? A lot of the same things that Trump stood for and ran on is the same things that Obama stood for and ran on before 08. And he changed. And people don't even know it. And so some of the stuff, that's why it's very difficult for people when you hold them accountable and you say, well, do you believe in this? Do you believe in this? Do you believe in this? And they say, yeah. And they say, well, Obama did. This is all of Obama's policies. They think it's Trump. They think it's Trump. Everything that Trump is doing when he was running for president, he said the same thing. Marriage should be between a man and a woman. Let me see if I can find it. Hold on, let me go back. I got you.
Because I think it's unduly divisive. With respect to gay marriage, I do not believe.
Hold on, I got you. Give me a second. I got you. Let's bring Obama up real quick before we take our break for the day. Our musical break.
I believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. But I also detest the sort of bashing and vilifying of gays and lesbians because I think it's unduly divisive. With respect to gay marriage, I do not support gay marriage, but I support a very strong version of civil unions where I think the state has to recognize the same rights and responsibilities for gay people, same-sex couples, as they do for anybody else. I believe that marriage is the union between a man and a woman.
Would you support a constitutional amendment with that definition?
No, I would not. I am not somebody who promotes same-sex marriage, but I do believe in civil union.
You know what? Let me back up for a second. Let's do this. Hold on.
Against, from the standpoint.
Hold on, I got you. Let's go to Biden, too.
Barack Obama nor I support redefining.
Hold on, I got you. Give me a second. I just want to show you how things change so fast.
Do you support gay marriage? No. Barack Obama nor I support redefining from a civil side what constitutes marriage. We do not support that. That is basically a decision to be able to be left to the faith and people who practice their faith, the determination what you call it. The bottom line, though, is, and I'm glad to hear the governor, I take her at.
Support gay marriage?
No. Barack Obama nor I support redefining from a civil side what constitutes marriage.
So, Funny how things change significantly. Things change significantly. 1000% all the time. People change, things change, and people, all of these same people that are mad at Trump or mad at whatever, or mad at Republicans, your fellow Democrats were saying the exact same thing. Somebody told me that all the smoke had Obama on their platform. Is that true? I have to change this. And then he was talking about how obsessed Trump is with him. I have to pull that up. We're going to have to revisit. We're going to have to visit that. All right. In the meantime, we're going to go over to Volkswagen. Volkswagen. This number blew my mind. It blew my mind. I couldn't believe what I was looking at. Couldn't believe that this was a real thing. It didn't make sense to me at first. And then I started listening to it and it made perfect sense. All right. So, Volkswagen. Hold on, let me pull this up for y'all. Volkswagen is looking to get rid of about 100,000 employees through layoffs. 100,000. Volkswagen is looking to cut 100,000 jobs worldwide. I am not exaggerating. I'm not throwing a weird number out there. I'm telling y'all what they're saying and what regulators in their country is trying to stop them from doing. Hit a like for the algorithm. Let's rock out, y'all.
What do we know about these reported VW job cuts then?
For some weeks, the CEO of Volkswagen, Oliver Blume, has been very much emphasizing how the business model for VW essentially wasn't working anymore, which is to develop and build cars in Europe, in Germany, for export worldwide. And the factors behind that, which is VW's biggest, is in decline. Local manufacturers there are taking over a lot of the buying appetite. And then in Europe, consumers are also on the back foot, and the company is facing a lot of regulatory burdens. VW, as we know, it's a huge company, and they for many years have been trying to slim down, become more agile, become more efficient. But what's become apparent is that the plans that they made in 2024 are not sufficient to compete with especially the now much more export-focused Chinese manufacturers that are also pushing into Europe.
Okay, well, let's see how much these plans get watered down when the Labour representatives get involved. But meanwhile, Elizabeth, you've got Chinese car makers continuing to capture more of the European market, another threat to European car makers.
Yes, absolutely. We reported on the latest figures there, and it's yet another month of record market share for Chinese manufacturers in Europe, pushing for the first time above 10%. That surge has been especially led by hybrid cars, which is interesting in light of the fact that the EU back in 2024 imposed tariffs on fully electric cars. So Chinese manufacturers have apparently been shifting somewhat to offering more hybrid models to consumers.
This is exactly what would be happening to the U.S. if Trump hadn't gotten into office. We would have Chinese cars coming over here being subsidized by the Chinese government, low labor, and they would be flooding the market, and the idiots that want Chinese cars over here, they would absolutely decimate all automakers, not just American automakers, but all automakers here in the U.S. When I went over to England, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was seeing Chinese vehicles over in there, and I was like, this don't make no sense. When I went down to Mexico and I seen some of that happening, I was like, well, this makes sense because they don't really have an auto industry. So because they don't have an auto industry, they're willing to let their own industry be subsidized by Chinese because they don't have anything to lose, right? Except for the people that manufacture vehicles over in Mexico. However, when I seen it over in places like England and Europe and stuff like that, and I'm looking at what's happening in Germany, and I said, this makes no sense whatsoever. Why would their leadership not do what Trump did to prevent this from happening and save the auto industry itself, and not allow for them to basically flood the market like they did with cheap steel, like they did with happening, so that they can save their own country? Canada is doing it right now. Canada is doing it in retaliation. Canada is doing it in retaliation to U.S. tariffs. So now they saying, well, listen, we're going to let Chinese sell 10,000 EVs over here, but it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop. Now, one of the largest auto manufacturers in the world, Volkswagen is saying we need to close 4 plants and eliminate 100,000 jobs in our own country and worldwide, and they probably gonna offload some of these car brands too. They're going to probably offload some of the car brands. What happened during the 2008 crisis? Well, automakers started to shed brands and they started to focus on their core brands, which I never understood why VW had all of these crazy brands anyway. Let me look up what brands is in VW. Let me go ahead and play a little bit more of this video, and I'm going to come back to you in a second.
Don't get lobbed with those additional costs for them. And Chinese manufacturers are on a tear because they're able... Sorry, go on.
Sorry, I was just going to say, what's the EU going to do to protect European automakers in that case then?
Well, they could also put tariffs on hybrid and plug-in vehicles, and they may be talking about that already. We're not quite sure. We've heard some rumors, but we're not sure. And they could put in place some measures that require manufacturers to make more vehicles in Europe. And the EU is discussing this as part of the Industrial Accelerator Act, and specifically for car makers, they are working through policy proposals on made in Europe vehicles.
So because somebody says something about VW doesn't make, you don't know what you're talking about. And some of the very brands that you love the most could possibly be owned by VW. So let me tell you what all VW owns. From financial services and tech, motorcycles and commercial vehicles, premium and luxury brands, and their core volume brand. A core volume brand is when they sell a whole lot of it, but at a cheaper price, all right? Of course, they own Volkswagen, which has the Atlas and the Tiguan and all of that other stuff, right? The Skoda. They own the Skoda. Some of y'all that obviously it's not sold in the U.S., so you may not know about it. The Seat. It's a Spanish brand offering affordable use. And the Volkswagen commercial vehicles. Those are the volume brands. Basically, Volkswagen and then some version of it, depending on what country you live in, all right? But here's the brands that really matter. Audi. Yes, they own Audi. They own Porsche. Bentley. They own Lamborghini. Motorcycles. They own Ducati. And commercial vehicles, Traton. They also have Volkswagen Financial Services, and then they also have a software stack company too. But they own a lot of, they say they own Navistar too. They own a lot of brands. They own a lot of brands. And so what I think is going to happen, the first thing that I think is going to happen is they're going to start to offload and sell some of these core brands. Because that's what the automakers in the US did in 2008. They sold some of these brands off and they killed some brands, right? Ford killed Mercury, which was supposed to be the brand that was in between Lincoln and Ford. It was supposed to be like a premium brand, but not a luxury brand. They killed Mercury, and they sold all of the assets in the Premier Automotive Group, which included Land Rover, Aston Martin, and it was another one. Land Rover, Aston Martin, and Jaguar. Land Rover, Aston Martin, and Jaguar. Ford owned all of those brands, and then they sold it. Now, Jaguar is owned, I believe, by an Indian company. Land Rover is owned by a Saudi company or something like that, or maybe also an Indian company. So on and so forth, right? General Motors, they killed Saab. They got rid of Hummer. They had Saturn. They had all of these different brands. And so automakers are known for swallowing up another brand and then basically extending their architecture so that they can rebrand it and they can basically get lower costs. But it never really works. It never really works. You have to focus on your core business. And this is also a business. Don't grow too fast because it'll become unmanageable. Volkswagen does not own Bugatti. Bugatti is its own independent through Porsche. It does not own it outright. It just has an interest in it. Similar to how Amazon has an interest in Rivian and Ford had an interest in Rivian. And so companies invest, or they may have some small interest in a company still, but they do not own Bugatti outright. They don't. They just have a smaller interest in the company, okay? No false information over here. We have to know what we're talking about. But again, I believe that there's going to be some brands that are spun off and they're going to be sold, but I don't know if these brands could stand on their own because so much of it depends on the core companies, right? If you look at, and a lot of people already understand this, but some of y'all may not understand it. If you look at the Porsche, I think that they're actually about to come out with a new Urus. And so I seen a teaser for that also. We got to talk about that. Seen a teaser for that new SUV that Porsche is coming out. I mean, that Lamborghini is coming out with. A Urus is an Audi, right? A lot of the same parts are shared across the board. Actually, the same layout in the inside of it looks just like an Audi, right? Why do you keep saying they own Bugatti? Why do people keep saying that? I don't know why people keep saying that. Mercedes used to be a part of Chrysler when Mercedes had merged with Chrysler, but then it was really a takeover. And then once they got done with it, they spun them off and gave all of the debt over to Chrysler. A lot of people don't even know that. Actually, it was called Daimler Chrysler. It was called Daimler Chrysler. And so they owned Chrysler, or actually they were supposedly had merged with Chrysler, but they basically sucked all of the stuff out of it and then they spun it back off. How am I wrong? I'm not wrong. I'm definitely not wrong. Y'all really need to do your research. And it's not club if you don't really know all of the information.
So that would obviously trigger Chinese car makers to make more vehicles here, and we've seen quite a few deals in that regard already. Stellantis, for example, is among them. They've got a deal with their partner Leapmotor to make Opel vehicles in Spain, also including Chinese technology, and also at a plant that Stellantis owns in Spain near Madrid.
Yeah, Daniel, this would be quite radical, actually. And we know all of this from this report. This is citing insiders within the company itself. So we're going to have to wait and see, actually, how much of this pans out to be true. But Manager Magazine has done well in the past, getting a lot of these scoops before. What it's saying is that on July 9th, there's going to be a meeting of the supervisory board of Volkswagen, the Volkswagen Group. Remember, this is a company that comprises 10 different brands, including Volkswagen, the brand, Porsche, Audi, for example. And that supposedly this is what the CEO, Oliver Blume, is going to propose, these radical steps. As you mentioned, up to 100,000 positions being cut. That's on top of, I should say, we already know that there are 50,000 positions that are being cut right now. This would be another 50,000, meaning that would be 100,000 in total by 2030, according to this report. And that would come largely, apparently, from the closures of 4 different production facilities, and all of them being in Germany. And then another big thing that we're seeing as part of this potential plan is this idea of spinning out Volkswagen, the brand, as you mentioned, which is interesting because Volkswagen has really talked about the kind of synergies that are supposed to be created through having all of these brands together. And now it's talking about really hiving one off, saying that, look, by doing this, it can, of course, be more agile, and that it might, according to this report, that it should make it easier for Volkswagen to then make further cuts in the future because of changes with the voting structures that would then make it much simpler to get around basically the
When we talk about synergies, right, and I tell you all about synergies all the time, what does synergies mean? Let me rewind it for you where you can hear the reference point.
Volkswagen to then make further cuts in the future because of changes with the voting structures that would then make it much simpler to get around basically the disagreement.
Let me rewind it a little bit more.
In total by 2030, according to this report, and that would come largely, apparently, from the closures of 4 different production facilities, and all of them being in Germany. And then another big thing that we're seeing as part of this potential plan is this idea of spinning out Volkswagen, the brand, as you mentioned, which is interesting because Volkswagen has really talked about the kind of synergies that are supposed to be created through having all of these brands together.
So what does synergies mean? Capital One recently, I believe, acquired Discover. It's funny because when I log into the Discover app, I see offers about Capital One, right? the only thing that comes off on this card is Netflix. So I keep Netflix on it to keep it open. But I get offers all the time. I believe it was, yep, that's what it is, every single time. Every single time. I get an offer on a regular basis. Hey, open a new Capital One card. Now, for people that are not familiar with it, they're not going to know because they don't pay attention to the news. They're not looking at financial news. They're not looking at Market Watch, Bloomberg. They're not a part of the Patreon. Make sure y'all tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. So they're not going to be familiar with the things that we talk about as far as the merging of Discover and Capital One and why they wanted to ultimately merge or buy each other. So they're going to open up their app and they're going to say, good marketing. Maybe I do need a Capital One card, but they don't really know that one company needed the infrastructure and the other one needed the payments processing. And so they merge, but at the same time, they're laying people off. Why? Because of synergy. Synergy. They're laying people off because of synergy. What is synergy? Synergy is we do the same thing. We can use the same workers. We don't need a duplicate process. We can actually take your customers, but we don't necessarily need your workers. When I was working at Flagstar Bank, right? I worked at Flagstar Bank, worked in the UX UI department. And one of the things that we would normally run into is a bottleneck. And so we would solve for this bottleneck and we would deal with this and we would deal with that. And so we brought everything in-house. That's the whole reason why they brought me on board in the first place. They said, Anton, we're trying to bring everything in-house. And that's when they pitched me and they said they made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. And that's when I went back into corporate America. And I was getting that bag too. And I thought that I had retired, and I guess I didn't retire. And so I stayed even longer than I thought that I was going to stay because they kept on, giving me another bag and another bag. But yes, it is called redundancy, but redundancy is used differently. It can be used in a multitude of different ways. One of the ways that redundancy can be used, what to watch on YouTube, about all of these servers, you talk about these data centers, you talk about everything moving into the cloud. A lot of companies are getting rid of their own data storage and their data facilities to then offshore it, right? Or to basically farm it out so that they can save costs and they don't have to maintain it themselves. They're just moving it into the cloud. Well, what do you need with redundancy? Redundancy, and we also learn this when it comes to what was it called? Microsoft. I don't remember what it was called, but we learned about it in college. We use it a little bit in corporate, where you giving permissions and all of that stuff. Some of y'all probably know what it is. It's in the chat. But you're basically duplicating the process so that you want it stored over here and you want it stored over here. Just in case something happened in it over here, we still got it backed up and stored over here so that nothing ever is lost completely. So redundancy is necessary. I even have some level of redundancy in my stuff. I keep stuff in 2 different clouds, right? I'll have a cloud for Google, and then I use Azure, and I use the OneDrive, and then I also back it up on physical hard drives so that I'll always have copies of everything that I do. But when we talk about synergies, you're talking about a completely different bag, right? Because now you're talking about, well, basically, we don't need that department. When I was over at Flagstar, again, let me go and revisit this. When I was over at Flagstar, Active Directory, shout out to Christopher Stevens. Yep, Active Directory. And Active Directory, we learned about it. We talked about Active Directory a lot in college and all of that type of stuff. So shout out to you. Active Directory. I ain't heard that term in a long time. But when I was at Flagstar, we brought everything in-house and we built it up. And so we started to take on more customer bases and we made a ton of money during the pandemic, right? So ultimately we acquired more customers. We were a servicer, meaning that we had built up, and my department had built a way for us to basically service loans. So when you log in to go and pay your mortgage, you log in to pay your car note, you log in to go and pay your credit card a lot of times with these different companies, you really was using our product. So we was basically rebranding the product. We was servicing the loans ourselves. Hey, you go in, you make the call, or you call into the service center. And so we say, hi, welcome to Flagstar, or hi, welcome to this company, or hi, welcome to this company. And the call service agents would be able to did the back end. We handled the payment processing. We did the branding. We did the website. And so we would rebrand the product for it to be able to be distributed, but we could service it all in one place, right? And so they was offshoring to us. And then once Mr. Cooper came in, we sold them a whole portion of our business, but they had already had the mortgage servicing department. So basically they was buying our customers and they was just going to import all of our loans and all of our customers. And they were saying, but we don't necessarily need y'all services anymore. We white labeled it. That's correct. But it was from a technical perspective. And so that's what synergy is. Synergy is, we're going to acquire this car brand, but we don't necessarily need it to stand alone. We're going to still offer the same financing that we offering on our products. We just want the product. We want the customer base. We want to be able to sell it. We might even pare down the dealership network because we don't need this much of a dealership network because we already got our own dealership network, right? We can have the platform manufactured on this framework, and then we just gonna change the body panels, or we'll change a little bit of the interior, but we're gonna push out the same software that you're using on the screen in order to be able to do the stuff that you're doing, right? When you go into the navigation system. The reason why you see so many screens in cars nowadays is because they don't then have to make a whole lot more parts for it, but they can then push out the same software and the software updates to that product. That's why you see most of these products saying, well, yep, we got Android and we got Apple CarPlay. Android Auto and Apple CarPlay. Apple is creating a product that they can basically distribute to all automakers, and so you can resize it depending on what the size of the screen is. Even in a Lambo. If I jump in a Lambo and I want to hit, Apple Play, and the screen is more of a rectangle than it is, or up and down, it's more of that than it is a square, or more horizontally, right? It's more vertical. It's been resized for it to be able to fit in that product. The size, the frame, all of this stuff. The Sierra is made on the same frame as the Silverado. The Silverado and the Sierra is the same truck. It's the same truck. The Escalade and the Yukon is literally the same truck, but it just got different luxury features, different body panels, different lights, and different everything. It's all made on the same framework. So when they manufacture or when they're designing for a new product, they keeping everything in mind. Okay, we got to design this for the Denali. We got to design this for the Yukon. We got to design this for the Tahoe. We got to design this for, the Escalade. We got to have the extended version. We got to have all of these things. Back in the day, it was even more obvious. And if you look at some of these people's Yukons today, they got Cadillac lights on it. They got Cadillac lights on it. So then basically what will happen is they'll design it for Cadillac, Chevy, and GMC. And that's the same thing in a lot of ways of what's happening. I believe Rolls-Royce is also manufactured on the BMW platform. Not the R8, not the A8. The A8 is the car, if I'm not mistaken. The Q. It's the Q. So, yeah, that's what's happening. But Chinese and EV vehicles are absolutely eroding the marketplace, and it's destroying automakers. It's destroying automakers. And it's cheaper for them to be able to manufacture the parts inside. Now, people that are really into cars heavy like that, they, know what's under the hood, all this and so on and so forth or whatever. But people that are just regular, everyday, most consumers are absolutely oblivious to what's happening inside of the auto industry. And so they just saying, oh, I want that new baby Benz. I want that new baby Benz. AD, what do you think? That's a really good question. Let me answer that question in a second. Give me a second. AD, what do you think of the Slate brand? I believe that the Slate brand offering the truck at $24,449 or $24,940, basically it's a basic truck that they're offering for little to nothing. $25,000 is a base truck. It looked like a house shoe to me. And then you can customize it and you can add on all of these add-on parts depending on what it is that you want. I think it's a novel concept, but I just think that it has to be cheaper. A lot more loaded than the base Slate. You want me to buy one? Y'all want me to buy one for the channel? Let's see, Slate. It's ugly. It tried to make it seem like a Bronco. I don't like it. I mean, I think it's a novel concept. I'm just not, that's the base right there. And then they basically configured it to where you can add all of this. You can add a wrap to it. But it's an EV with 205 miles of range. I'm pretty sure you'll see one. And basically you can customize it to basically look like any one of these. You can do a different wrap. You can add more whatever in the inside. I mean, like I said, if you just want to pre-order. Step 1, sign in a pre-order and lock in your delivery window with a $300 payment. Step 2, when your delivery window closes, we'll reach out to finalize your accessories and complete your purchase, and you get your truck on its way. One of the things that they are fighting with this whole slate thing, this is what it looks like, the base version. One of the things that they're fighting with is that the dealers are getting mad because they're saying that they can't sell them at the dealership. And that if you are a part of the dealership network, you should be able to sell. You should be able to sell them. Ugh. You know, we gotta get over cheap. We gotta get over just cheap. Everything can't just be in my opinion, it can't just be as cheap as possible, bro. I'm straight. I would honestly, I would rather catch public transportation, bro. I would rather catch public transportation. I think that catching public transportation is the option. If you got to go with that to be able to afford, if you're not buying it because you like it, but you're buying it just to be able to afford it, you need to just focus on public transportation, big dog. Just catch the train, catch the bus, keep it moving. Dean Murray says, how would you describe Mamdani's interview conversation style? Authentic. I don't think he could communicate effectively. He got this raspy voice thing going on. He looked like he's from California. I don't think he's effective when it comes to trying to relate to regular people. He don't even seem like a normal person. Chris Cunningham says, so he couldn't get this done in Cali, but everyone left the state. So he is trying to get this done nationally. This is the affordability play. It's all a pitch. Moses says, even if I can't manage it, let me be it, or let me be. Life for Tariq says, why not if they use unrealized gains on loans as leverage? Why not be able to tax them? Because there is no value of it. You listen, you can't get mad at the bank. Okay, let me ask you a question. This is a better way to put it. Because there's no point in going on a rant. It's more of this is a teaching opportunity. You own your house. You have equity in your house. You can borrow against that house. Should you be taxed on being able to borrow against an asset that you own? You can go and get a home equity line of credit. You can go and you can pull the money out the house, but should you be taxed on money that you borrow out the house? If I go and get a loan and I use something as collateral, should I have to be taxed on what I borrow and then be overtaxed on repaying the loan too because I got to pay the interest rate on the loan? Why can't we leverage what we own to pull money out of it without the government sticking their claws in it again? Whatever you own. If you own some jewelry, let's say you own gold, and you want to pawn it, you don't want to sell it, you want to pawn it, right? You want to use it as collateral to get money to do whatever it is that you need to do. Should you be taxed on that? It's always easier to talk about taxing something when it's not your money. The government gets trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars of our money. We need to be holding them accountable for the money that they already take from you. Why? No, that's why we have Congress, right? Congress gets paid on average $175,000 a year to manage our government spending, but they can't, and they haven't, and we continue to put people in office that don't know any better. And Bernie Sanders has been in there for 1,000 years, and they can't manage it. Somebody said the government also gives out a lot in tax breaks to businesses. That's because they get a lot back when it comes to payroll, when it comes to building up their economy, when it comes to the circulation of the dollar, when it comes to creating jobs. They give it, they're incentivizing you to build. Okay, so I'll give you another example. If somebody says, well, they selling that land for cheap over there, the government is giving you an incentive to take on that land. You know why? Because they don't make no money from it just sitting on it. And so they have to sell that. That's why they have auctions, tax auctions, because they want that to go on the taxpayer rolls and they want to get money from it, taxing you on property taxes every single year. Or they want you to build on the property so that they can charge you even more in property taxes. You don't get rewarded by the government has never rewarded anybody for investing in themselves, ever. There's always going to be some kind of finesse, some kind of return, some kind of something. If I go out and I buy land all the time and I build homes. That's why I never, ever, ever look at a home that you live in as an investment. It's nothing more than a shelter because you're still paying rent on it and property taxes. You still gotta pay maintenance. You still gotta pay all of this and you can still lose it, right? If I go and buy that land, the property taxes on that land, let's just use a round number. Let's say it's $2,000 a year, just for the sake of conversation. Now, maybe even less than that. If I build a house on that land, they are now going to tax me off of the value of the house. So now I could be getting charged $10,000, $15,000 a year in taxes. So now do you understand why they're incentivizing people to take, hey, take this land, build on it. Okay, cool. All right, now we can collect taxes every year on it and we can generate revenue. Now multiply that times the tens or thousands, hundreds of thousands, or even in some city, millions of residents that live there. So the question that we should be asking ourselves is, why aren't we demanding that the government be more efficient with our dollars? Why don't we have the government being more efficient with our monies, with our taxpayer dollars? They make money off of payroll taxes. They make money off of property taxes. They make money off of commercial property taxes. They make money off of taxes that come out of your check in some cities. That's why it's a travesty when you see a place like Los Angeles losing so many residences. Why? Because they're losing people that are on the tax rolls. They're losing people that will go shopping and pay the taxes when they go and buy groceries and pay taxes when they go and buy clothes and tourism and buying cars and paying for gas and all of this stuff when you go to the gas station. Even, listen, whether you're in prison or whether you are on the street, you are nothing but a number. The value that you bring to society is how it's determined if you are worth investing in. When they do the census numbers, they're not counting you as an individual and saying, oh man, listen, we see you as people. They see you as a number. So Florida and Texas is going to go to Californians and they're going to say, Hey, listen, only the rich ones though, not the regular ones. Hey, listen, if y'all move here, you move here, you ain't got to pay no income taxes. Well, guess what else you're going to do? You're going to buy cars, and the dealership are going to get the payments and stuff. You're going to buy houses, and you're going to have property taxes on that, right? You're going to travel. You're going to have your jet there. You're going to do all of these different things because the value of you being there, the reason why people that have resources get more opportunity, right? They get more incentives is because they have more value to add. A lot of people ask themselves a question and they say, well, how come rich people get all of the deals? How come this person get all of the deals? Because I bring more value to the organization than you do. Why would a high roller at the casino get all of the free things if he's already rich? Because they want to incentivize him and there's competition for him to go somewhere else. He can go to another casino. So they're going to say, oh, no. We're going to let your girl go shopping. Hey, listen, take her to Louis Vuitton, take her to Dior. We're going to give her an $8,000, $10,000 shopping trip. You know why? Because they know that that person is going to put $2 million in action and they have an opportunity to get some of that money. You are coming down on the bus, your senior citizen self, because they bus in the senior citizens to come and sit at the slot machines in the morning, right? And you got your Social Security check and you got Paul's Social Security check. And so you're going to go and throw that inside of the little thing. But see, they're tracking you as a number. That's why they give you a card. That's why they say, hey, listen, you want a player's card? So that they can track how valuable you are to the company. It's the same thing across the board. You come with a bag. That's why I'm picking smaller cities around the Metro Detroit area to spend the majority of my time investing in. You know why? Because now I have influence over the city council. Because I'm going to come up there and I'm going to say, hey, listen, I'm spending this many millions of dollars a year building all of these properties and I'm investing in this and I'm investing in this. This is what I want. And they're going to say, you know what, Anton? And I told y'all this. I actually showed y'all an example of this. They'll say, we're not going to charge you the $27,000 that the previous person that owned that property. We're not even going to cause a problem. Water under the bridge. You know why? Because I'm bringing more value to the city. Because I'm an asset to the city. If you learn to look at life through the lens of a relationship, you will understand it all. How do women value men? Yeah, they may think you cute, especially if they're in their 20s. But as they get older, they start looking at their life circumstances and they say, you know what? I'm tired, boss. I'm tired. They're going to frame it and they're going to say, it's provision and protection. You know what that means? Moolah, baby. So the value that you add into society, into her life, is based off of what? How productive you are. It's no different. It's no different in any other aspect of life. Even when you travel overseas. You know why they like us traveling over there, whether you want to label yourself a passport bro or a visitor or a world traveler or a backpacker or whatever you want to do? You know why? It's because you're bringing American dollars. Now, they don't want you to live there. And in order to live there, you need to qualify yourself. So they're going to say, hey, listen, in order to get a permanent visa, or to get an extended visa to live here in the country, and we're going to force you to renew it because we need to make sure that you're on top of your game. We need to verify your income. We need to verify how much money you're making, how much money you got in the bank, all of this stuff. Because the value that you bring into their economy is how they determine how generous they are going to be with opening up their country to you to live in. And so you thinking, oh my God, I can't believe anybody would leave from here. But the people that live there is like, I want to get the heck out of here. And I'm trying to go to America so I can go get some money so that I can be more valuable. Because me just being a fisherman, that don't necessarily mean nothing to their government. Me just being a common thief, which is why all of these companies let out all of their criminals and said, hey, y'all go to the U.S. because those prisoners were of no value. It was actually costing them money. That's why we wanted to get all of the illegal migrants out of the country because they are of no value to us. They actually take more and use more of our resources. They take from our hospitals. They take from our classroom sizes get bigger, right? The incarceration, all of these different things, and we don't even know who they are. So you have this argument and this pulling inside of the U.S. of Democrats and Republicans, and the Democrats are saying, well, we can use them not only for cheap labor, but also let's find a pathway to citizenship. And the Republicans are saying, nah, you come in the right way and we only want the best and the brightest. You know why they only want the best and the brightest? Is because the people that's here are actually subsidizing these illegals that's coming here. But we look at what's going on in California and we say, well, they're using them to stay in power. So the value to the California politicians is, well, we can finesse these illegals to come and vote, which is why we don't want voter ID in order to stay in power so that we can continue to make more money off of fraud and our friends and all of these things. And so unless you understand your value as a man, as a woman, you do not truly understand how money works. Unless you understand your value, when you go to the country club and they say, hey, this is the membership fee to get in, and they raise it up just so you can't afford it because they're pitching to you the value of being able to network with people and be in a circle of people that ultimately can raise your status and your net worth because you can now do business and you have access to more. Now, some people will say, oh man, I would never pay that because you don't understand what adding value to the group then translates into as far as your own net worth, your own opportunities, your own perspective. So you a penny pincher and you think that the value is in the dollar, but the value is in the people. So they raise it up just enough so that they can keep out the riffraff because they want to make sure that the valuable people are all in one place. You know why God designed it for old people to die? Because they no longer have any value to this earth. That's a hard pill to swallow, ain't it? That's a hard pill to swallow, ain't it? And guess what Gavin Newsom even proposes? That in your death, that they want to tax you more on the passing of assets to the people that is supposed to be your inheritance. Now I'm yapping, huh? All right. Well, if I'm yapping, how come you don't even want to take in Gam Gam? How come families fight over the assets after they die instead of fighting for the opportunity to take care of Gam Gam? You know what they say? Oh man, you slowing down my life. Oh man, you messing up what I got going on. Man, I had to put my life on hold in order to take care of. We've seen it even depicted in movies. Y'all fighting and y'all putting them in a home. But at the same time, you'll fight over the assets that they leave to be in a will or fight over Gam Gam's house. You know why? Because ultimately we value the things that add value into our lives. You know why certain people go to war? You know why they cut off the age? Never mind. Let me be quiet. Because now we would really start to deep dive, and I would tell you that a person that You know what the problem is with this situation? I'm going to read the super chats and then I'm going to get into Obama. You know what the problem in this situation is? That you want to feel more valuable than you really are. You don't like the idea that I'm highlighting how you're not worth anything to anybody, but you want to feel seen. That's our inherent nature, is to want to be loved, and we want to be wanted, and we want to be needed, and we want other people to see us as valuable. And so a lot of times people struggle with the idea that they're not as valuable as they think that they are in the eyes of other people. And so they struggle with that all the time. women a lot of times put the value on what they look. That's why when they get older, and I've seen videos, people send them inside of my email, and they say, I don't feel seen anymore. People are ignoring me. That bothers them. It breaks them. It takes a hold of them. Some of y'all parents only had you so that they can stay on government assistance. And that was the value that you added into their life. Some of y'all wasn't even wanted. You was just needed so that they can stay on Section 8 and get their food stamps. Your value as a child to that mother, regardless of how you may feel, was basically how they can continue to get government assistance. But you don't want to have that conversation. That is going to break your heart. Oh, that is going to break your heart. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Some of y'all was just a child support baby. You was used to finesse and continue to get child support from a man. And the value that you had was that. And that's it. That's why you be mad at me. That's why you be mad at me. You an asset. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now you can get mad at me about it. Somebody says there are a billion people that don't know that Anton exists, but you do. So I'm valuable to you. And I'm valuable to your girl. Neither here nor there. I'm in a good space today. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Shout out to Life of Tariq. That was a good, interesting question. Wesley Turner says Newsom got to start by the Gettys, billionaires. San Juan says Kamala doesn't remember what Kamala was running on. It may be very true. Anton, you got to listen to Primo Rice. Who is Primo Rice? Send it to me. Dean Murray says, maybe I missed it, but what was the big catalyst that made Biden push for EVs? Both overtly and covertly, that push for EVs? I don't know. He passed some legislation, an infrastructure deal that was based off of EVs. A lot of it was in EVs. First time catching you live. That truck is the truck is trash. The slate is trash. What up, Wangwan? Welcome to the show, big dog. Free game. That's what we do. Make sure you tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description. I just dropped the video on yesterday. I just dropped the video yesterday in the Patreon. Truth is the truth. Shout out to Wangwan. Somebody says old people hold history and wisdom. Can't put a price on that, even if we can't find ways to use them. No, they don't, man. Some of these old people is dumb and set in their ways. Just because you old don't mean that you got wisdom. Just because you old does not mean that you hold wisdom. Let's be very clear. Some of y'all old, y'all mamas and y'all grandpappies, just go ahead, man. Cut the cord, bro. It's over for them. Some of them has been here for way too long. Just holding on, taking up resources, doing the devil's work, continuing to push their negative agendas. Nah. They don't always have wisdom. A lot of times they just demonic and they old. Some people are just old and ugly in their spirit. Always giving people props just because they old. Oh, no, man. Some people old and we love them old. No, we don't. No, we don't. Barack, shout out to High Tolerance, said we need 2 minutes of toxic time segment. Nope. You'll get it on Friday when I get my car back. You get it on Friday when I get my car back. You don't want the toxic me. It's an update on a 7-month-old that got unalived. Okay, well, then I'll cover it tomorrow. Make sure you guys tap into the Patreon. Link is in the description as well as pinned to the top of the chat. Some of y'all are only valuable to the hospital to build the insurance company. That's why they keep you hospitalized. Yeah, man. Said I'll get it out this week. All of the parts come from overseas. I got to have it for 4th of July weekend. I got to get it. I have to have it for 4th of July weekend. I seen a guy, maybe I'll end the show with that. I seen a guy that was on the internet said that he was happier when he was homeless. I'll get to that in a little bit. Chris Johnson reveals he was diagnosed with ALS. I'll get to that also. Or maybe I'll just, all right, so let's get to this Obama one real quick. I heard that All the Smoke had an interview with Obama and he said that Trump wouldn't say something to his face.
Weekend, and y'all looking down, and I'm like, and I had to speak that weekend, and you can still see, like this the caterpillar right on my lip, and I had all the pictures, the 3-picture sequence framed, and I signed it to this congressional staffer. Said, "Dear Ray," I think it was, and I said, "To the only man who ever assaulted the president
and got away with it."
And got away with it. So I know he's got that somewhere.
I'm more sore from watching my Spurs lose in that shoot around.
Man, I tell you.
Morning.
Good to see you.
You too.
You know what? We will break down that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to it.
We're gonna break down that finals.
Welcome back to All the Smoke, Jack. I think we
reception was about.
First of all, let me give props to because I do constantly criticize Steven Jackson. I do. But I want to keep the energy the same on both sides to say that they are doing some phenomenal work, even if I don't necessarily agree with everything that they say. And I think that, you know, when I criticize or when I look at some of the stuff from Steven Jackson and I see him trying to be an old YN, at the same time, you also have to give them props from being able to land some of the biggest interviews to keep their platform popping off and doing what they do. Sometimes you see Matt Barnes talking about getting finessed by an AI Instagram model and that he had to, put out some money for it. And then they'll pull back up and then they'll do a great interview. So I have to give them props. This is courtesy of All the Smoke. And I want to skim through this and see if there's anything of value in here.
A mile away. So this really was the place that became not just my home, but it's where I learned how to do the work that I ended up doing. So I wanted to figure out, how do I give something back? And what I believed was, if I could use the excuse of a presidential center, to build a community center, a place where kids can come in and they've got a first-class basketball facility, but also educational facilities.
Let me see, it's 28. It
Chicago
28.
Public Library. And they can see world-class art. Go, all right.
That means more than anything.
Yeah. And let me do some more of that.
Right.
Let me find some more, right? It's the same satisfaction you get as a parent, but you can duplicate it, right? You don't, now that our girls are launched, it's like, well, come on, let's find some other
who are we gonna pour
young
into?
people to build up.
I say winning the championship all the time is good, but being able to say I went to 29 states that I wasn't from and give back and help other people, that means more than anything.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, you guys are seeing that.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit.
The leader of this current administration is still very fascinated with you and your family, constantly bringing you guys up. And you've been out of office nearly 10 years now. How do you continue to keep your cool and take the high road, so to speak? Because we asked Michelle, and Michelle said we don't have to take the high road no more. We just have to be strategic in our approach.
That's what she said.
But she said we don't have to take the high road. But you constantly seem to meet the negativity and the racism with class, and it makes you stand out so high.
Cool.
But you don't just want to cuss his ass out or sometimes?
First of all, let me say this, that was a great way that he framed the question. Because you could have asked it, and this is what makes, I think that Matt Barnes is a really good interviewer, objectively speaking. I think that Matt Barnes is a great interviewer because being a good interviewer is not just asking the questions that people want to hear. It's framing the question. Long way ENT, you hating on him. This is not a mid question. Framing the question by adding in the caveat that Michelle Obama basically said, we don't have to take the high road anymore, so that you then force him to have to address it from both lenses is what makes it a good question. How am I mean today? I've been very, very nice. I think him adding in that caveat is what makes the question, because you could just say, hey man, why do you continue to take the high road if somebody says something negative about you? Or you could say, hey man, why do you take the high road? Because it seems like this administration is very focused on you. And Michelle Obama, when we interviewed her, she said that we basically don't have to keep doing that anymore because we're not in office. That's a really great way to frame a question to make it relatable. And it shows that he's actually comfortable in the role that he's playing as hosting this podcast.
The thing about it is, look, you got to ask him what it is that
the obsession.
The obsession.
I know what it is.
I obviously have a room in his head,
rent free. You do everything with grace.
A suite in his head. But the thing about it is that was always clear to me. Look, first of all, when I was president, the last thing I had time to do was worry about what
somebody said,
or what my predecessor did.
Mm-hmm.
They're gone. I've got work to do.
You locked in.
It's hard to describe how, if you're doing the job right, every day you've got 5, 10 things that are real hard. And you have to be constantly focused. The idea that I'd be worrying about
came before
somebody who came before and me trying to measure, like, what's he done today? Look, constantly worrying about that is a strange thing to me. It shows me somebody who's not focused on the American people and the job they're supposed to do. But the other thing that I learned pretty early in this gig was you have to screen out the noise, and in order for you to understand what's in front of you and deal with it well. My whole presidency, I never watched cable TV, never watched cable news, never, read. I didn't have social media. Now, there were people on my staff whose job it was to monitor what are folks saying, because you also want to have input when you're getting constructive criticism, or when the American people are all like, look, we're upset about something, right? You need to get that feedback loop. And the flip side of that is you also then don't get puffed up when things are going good. Reading,
you're too high, too low, just staying consistent.
And this is some of the most important advice I tell young people. It's like, if you are constantly worrying about what other people think, somebody can have a bad day and cuss you out, and suddenly
they control your happiness.
Objectively speaking, I just said this earlier. I literally, earlier in this conversation with you guys, just told you guys this. I said, listen, I do not in any way, shape, or form. Now, Trump uses it as a strategy. How you counter that strategy also speaks to how you deal with criticism, right? And I just said this earlier. I said, listen, It's important to drown out the noise so that you can focus on the things that's meaningful. If I allow for somebody to live rent-free in my head, then that means that I'm taking up that they're taking up real estate in my head. Right? Real talk. And so I actually agree with the counter response, but I also agree with the fact that Trump plays all offense and he ain't tripping about no defense. So Obama is saying that I need to focus on the thing that I need to focus on. Trump is saying that I'm going to do what I got to do in order to get visibility. And so both of them are playing a strategic game because, for example, Obama, or let's even use Biden as a reason, because some of y'all wasn't alive or some of y'all wasn't outside when Obama was president. Biden was very secretive. You never heard from Kamala Harris. You never seen what she was doing. She wasn't somebody that was on the front lines. And the only time that you seen her pop out was when it was time for her to run for president. On the flip side, Trump very much allows for the media to basically follow him everywhere, every time, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, which gives us insight and access to understand exactly what he's doing and what he's thinking. And so I think that Trump understands, and you got to also factor in that Obama came in before the social media era. When you're talking about social media, it wasn't like this. Everybody didn't have a platform. Everybody didn't have visibility. You're talking about 06, campaigning in 06, to ultimately become president in 08, and then leaving office in 2016. Obama came in the infancy of social media. It wasn't a whole bunch of YouTubers, wasn't no Kick, wasn't a bunch of Twitch streamers, wasn't none of that stuff that was really popping off to the level that it's popping off right now, right? You had Vine. I'm not even sure that we really had Instagram. Did we even have Instagram? I don't think we had Instagram back then, right? The Facebook was a thing more than ever before. So, it's different times and it's different understandings of what this looks like.
It's controlling your performance. It's controlling your thought processes.
I will also tell you that Mamdani is more visible and more available. He makes social media posts all the time. All the time. I get some kind of social media post of Mamdani celebrating something that he did.
So I screened that stuff out pretty early on, and I ain't worrying about it. Another way of putting it is no reason to dignify that kind of stuff. It's not even.
I like it because it doesn't affect who I am. So
Cap. You see Steven Jackson jumping off the porch. Come on, man. You could have just sat this one out. You could have just let Obama have his moment and asked the next question. Steven Jackson respectfully jumps off the porch the minute that he hears or sees things that don't even have nothing to do with him. He was jumping off the porch with Kevin Hart. And he was jumping off the porch with this person and jumping off the porch with that person. And he always making a video about how he checking in and all of this stuff. Come on, man. Come on.
I can get engaged and go on with my day and don't even think about it.
I'm not even worrying about it.
Yeah, well,
I know.
I kind of like it.
I do.
Oh, okay. I take that back. Steven Jackson is saying that. Let me rewind it. I take that back. Steven Jackson is basically saying that he likes to engage.
Reason to dignify that kind of stuff. It's not even.
I like it because it doesn't affect who I am. So
Okay, I take that back. He's being actually authentic. He's saying that I actually like to engage people, and I'm a get at you. And I'm not affected by what people say online.
Can get engaged and go on with my day and don't even think about it.
I'm not even worrying about it.
Yeah, well,
I know.
I kind of like it.
I do worry sometimes. I've heard some of the guys talk about changes in the locker room now and how kids are, some of the younger players, instead of just talking or playing some bidwest or something, everybody just like
stuck to your phone
on the
totally
phone.
Different.
The other thing I believe in, and part of what we try to teach in our leadership training is, I believe in face-to-face. I believe in conversation. So if whoever you were talking about was in front of me, which has happened a couple times, he don't talk like that because he knows better.
Hey, did Obama just say what he said without saying what he said? He just said, listen, we was face to face and he different in person than who y'all seeing on the internet. Okay. All right, Barack. All right, Rock. Rock said, listen, I believe in face to face. And I'm not sure that y'all think what it is, what it ain't, but I'm not really tripping about it. It's cool. We not tripping about it. Hey, y'all could have that. You got it. I like the engagement. I like the going back and forth. It don't hurt nothing. I don't think that it's, ain't no need to get bent out of shape. Nobody got to take no sides with this. It's just it's a funny comment. I think that it's hilarious. That he popping his talk.
Ain't never that.
And I think there is that filter of the phone creates a situation both where people just say kind of crazy stuff that they would never say
with no consequences
to your face with no consequences.
Yeah.
And the flip side of it is we told our daughters when they were young and the phones were first coming out, we said, why would you invite thousands of strangers who know nothing about you, who care nothing about you? Why would you entertain their opinions?
Don't matter.
Why would you put something up there and ask them, comment on how I look or comment on, why would you do that?
Giving them ammo, yep.
I mean, that makes no sense. Yeah, so.
I actually agree with him. In this social media era, it's a lot different where a lot of people care so much about what other people think. And I tell people, even as content creators, I can give y'all some examples recently of people that's been associated, and you'll see people in the comments and say, oh my God, this person left, or oh my God, that person was feeling some type of way. And sometimes they may be feeling the pressure, and sometimes they may not be feeling the pressure. But I tell people all the time, don't read the comments. I tell them on Room 9, after hours. And don't nobody listen to me. Don't nobody listen to me. You know what they do? They be looking at the comments. Now, I look at the comments because I think that the people are a part of the show. The people are my co-hosts for the show. So we got to read super chats. I like to get the pulse of the people. I like to include y'all. Sometimes y'all ask some good off-the-wall questions that I want to include in my soliloquy or my conversation that I'm having. But I'm not affected in the way that other people are affected. And everybody say, oh, I'm not going to pay attention, or oh, it's not going to affect me, until it does. Until it does. And they start caring because they got sensitive skin or stuff is happening, whatever. I was talking to my brother because he came and picked up the Cybertruck this weekend. And he was like, man, these people are so fun. He said, these people are funny. He said, one of his classmates was saying that, oh my God, I watch your brother every day. He's crazy sometimes. And he said he started laughing, and he said, Anton knows how to get y'all going. He said, y'all don't know who Anton is. He be sleeping well, he be chilling or whatever. But people be basically crash dummies because they care so much about what other people think instead of leveraging it to make more money. And everybody is not built for social media. Everybody is not built to be a content creator because they only built for it as long as people are agreeing with them. As long as people are agreeing with them, they built for it. Whenever somebody starts to disagree with them, then they be like, oh man, I want to go into, let me see, Life After Presidency. Let's see that one, 2339, Life After Presidency. Shout out to everybody that put timestamps in they streams.
Life after presidency.
Yeah.
We talk about, retiring from sports and trying to figure out what's next in life.
Right.
How's the transition been from you away from it?
Well, a couple of things right after the presidency was over. Number one is I was in a deep deficit with my wife.
A lot of making up to do.
Time.
I had a lot of making up to do. Time.
Shout out to the simps. Listen, just when I was starting to think that Obama had a little bit of backbone, we always get this same conversation from the UK Prime Minister resigning to Obama. Like, you don't hear this from no other president. You don't even hear Bush. You don't hear Bush. You don't hear either Bush. You don't hear none of these people. You know, Michelle, I was in deep doo-doo with my wife. I had a lot of time to make it up. A lot of making up to do at the time. Oh my God! Here we go with the simping.
Travel, fun trips, hanging out, family, which was a blessing, right? And because there were certain pressures on Michelle that even I didn't fully appreciate, being the first African American first lady, and the double standards and how people had perceived her, and she did such an outstanding job and was beloved, but it took put some strain on her. Right? It took a toll. So catching up with her was really important. I didn't miss, and I have not missed, all the fuss of the presidency. I like, you walk in a room, folks all standing up and having to wear a tie every day. I don't miss that. And a lot of the ceremony and the attention. I wasn't somebody who came in looking like I just needed a lot of attention. Not partly because I'd gotten a lot, even during the campaigns, and what I did miss was the work. And I missed the camaraderie of doing hard stuff with a group of people. You're in a foxhole when you're in the White House, right? It's like every day, pressure.
I told y'all, I don't care if you're the president. I don't care if you're the sweeper. I don't care what you are. Guys miss productivity, and retiring is overrated. It is overrated. Guys, women don't understand this. The guys understand what we're talking about. If you are not productive, and women say, why can't you sit down? Why can't you do this? Why can't you do this? Why you don't want to just, whatever, blah, 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 is because we are made to grind. We are made to go and get it. We are made to go and run it up. We are not made to sit at home and chill and always want to do a spa day and do all of that stuff. Real talk. Regardless of what side you're on, Democrat, Republican, or whatever, guys like working. They like hustling. They like going to get it. They like going to run up a bag. Obama was like, listen, of all the things that he could have said, he said, I miss actually working.
Coming. Big decisions, life and death stakes. And, it's obviously different, but it's similar to sports in the sense of that feeling of you're on a common enterprise.
Pressure.
And you've got pressure and stress. And if it goes right, you bond in a way that's different. You hear guys in the military talking about that same kind of feeling with their unit, their guys. So I missed that. But the thing that I was excited about, and that's a lot of what this foundation's about.
You said you disagree with who? Who you disagree with? Who in the chat, somebody in the chat, who in the chat actually disagrees with the idea that men need to be working the majority of the time versus trying to relax? Tell me you want to disagree, and I'll drop the link for you.
And what this presidential center is about is, how do I train and help the next generation of leaders? The next Baracks or Michelle's, who are everywhere. Right? Michelle's mom always used to, she'd be asked about, what'd you do to make Michelle so fantastic, and Craig, and
you already know that he's gonna big them up.
Ms. Robinson, who was one of my favorite people ever. I love my mother-in-law deeply. She just laughed, and she's all like, you know what? There are a million Michelles and Craigs and Baracks. But they might just not have had just the right break, the right exposure. And she's absolutely right about that. And so the Michelle and I talked, and we said, the one thing we can do well, even though we're getting kind of old, we can still inspire young people. And if we can find ways to lift up, support, inspire, shine a spotlight on the next generation of talent, get them together so they don't feel isolated, they feel like they've got a team behind them, that would be worth doing. And so that's how I've been spending a lot of my time. And, the analogy I use is like moving from player to coach. You're never going to get exactly the same highs as you do when you're on the court, right? There's a different feeling of that competition and you're taking the shot, right? But there's a different kind of satisfaction when you feel like, I'm working with this person and they are growing and fulfilling their potential, and you're helping that along. And then you see them, do some amazing thing and turn into just remarkable leaders, and you kind of go, all right,
that means more than anything.
Yeah, and let me do some more of that.
Right.
Let me find some more. Right, it's the same satisfaction you get as a parent.
Yep.
But you can duplicate it. Right. You don't now that.
All right, I get it. That was Barack Obama. That was Barack on All the Smoke. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let me see what's happening in the chat. What's good, AD? Have you ever thought about doing an MMS and Room 9 tour? Yep, I thought about it over the weekend. I think about it all the time. All the time. And you know what I'm thinking about? Let's mind it out, Kyle Davis. You know what I was thinking about? I don't know how you do a morning show live. How does that work? Like, I don't know if that's entertaining enough. You would have to have a band like The Roots. I think about the late night shows and I think about all of that stuff. And I always wonder, like, how do you do a morning show live, though? Because you got to be focused. You're hitting buttons. You're doing all of this stuff. And I don't know what that would look like. Now, a Room 9 tour is different because then that means that we can do multiple segments and we will be able to do maybe a weekend or maybe a night or something like that. I think a Room 9 tour is a little bit different. But a MMS show, I don't know how you would be able to do that. The Room 9 tour, that would be dope. But I don't know how you can do a morning show. You know what I'm saying? So, TS Car Wash in Detail says, thoughts on Buffalo Bills will not honor O.J. Simpson at the new stadium. I don't have a problem with it. He was too controversial. You like the Miles Bridges trade to the Suns? It's okay. I don't really care about the Suns. Mr. Joe says Obama is capping. He and Trump was just smiling and laughing with each other last year at President Carter's funeral. Well, that's what he was saying. He's saying that Trump doesn't, all of the crazy stuff that he says on social media doesn't necessarily translate when we actually hit, sitting in person and, having conversations. Obama just pulled what AD did on Corey. Chris Cunningham says, can Obama be a coach? If so, can you hire him or fire him? Yeah, Obama ain't about to be nobody's coach. Obama ain't thinking about nobody's coach. You know what I'm saying? Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. It will have to be more than just AD. Yeah, if I did a tour, I would do it with friends. Like, it would be the Anton and Friends show. Like, I would probably bring Charleston. I would probably bring one of my NBA friends. Maybe it would be like the controversial tour. Like me, Brian McKnight, Stephen A. Smith. I'll watch it. I'll check it out. Tria Holly. TS Car Wash and Detail Service says, you ever saw Nightcap outside? New thing with bowling, top golf, and axe throwing, etc.? I haven't. Send it to me. Email it to me. Because I want to see what everybody else is doing. It'll give me some insight on maybe one day putting it together for myself. Know what I'm saying? Chris Johnson. A lot of y'all been asking me to cover this whole Chris Johnson situation. 39 years old, has ALS, diagnosed with ALS, and I think that that's heartbreaking. Absolutely heartbreaking. Make sure you guys hit a like for the algorithm, subscribe to the channel, and turn on your notifications. Let's get into it, y'all.
Johnson, touchdown! Chris Johnson, one of the fastest running backs in NFL history, shattered records throughout his career. 80-yard run. So fast, he earned the nickname CJ2K.
Chris Johnson is going to have a Titans touchdown.
He retired in 2017 and has been out of the spotlight. But today, he is sharing something deeply personal.
You've chosen to share some personal news today, and it takes a tremendous amount of courage to share it. What would you like for people to know?
First, I want people to know that I'm still me. ALS has changed what my body can do, but it hasn't changed who I am.
In 2025, at the age of 39, Johnson was diagnosed with ALS. The disease progressing so rapidly that he now uses his eyes to trigger a speech-generating device to speak.
Why do you want to share this now?
Because if sharing my story helps even one person get diagnosed sooner, inspires more research, or gives another family hope, then it's worth it.
Johnson says he was in the prime of his life, working out daily and running errands with his 4 children until ALS changed everything.
Let's go back to last year. When did you notice that something was off?
I first noticed weakness in my right hand. At first, it was little things like my grip didn't feel right, and I wasn't as strong as I've always been.
His wife, Brittany, thought it was something much simpler.
Brittany, what did you think it was at the time?
I thought because of football and...
Oh, man. Oh, dog. This is so sad. Oh, man. This is heartbreaking, bro. That's a lot. That is a lot to deal with. You know, all right, let me first say this. Prayers up for him, bro. Prayers up for Chris Johnson, and prayers up for his family. Blessings on him. I pray that God in some way, somehow, work a miracle in his life, work a miracle in his family's life, work a miracle in his wife's life, and, you know, that his children is not as affected by this. And somehow, some way, you know, the blood of Jesus got to overcome this, and that it be on his life. I know God said that it rains on the just and the unjust, but whenever I see a tragedy like this, I don't care if they're famous. I don't care what happens. My first inclination as a saint is to go into prayer. It's to straight up, flat out go into prayer. And it just tells you that all of this stuff that we worry about, this is a reality check, bro. This is a reality check that the stuff that we complain about in life is so small, is so minuscule, and life is so precious, and it could just be taken away just like that in an instance. And that's why God says, live every day like it's your last. Not just for the possibility of being able to die or, you know, something can happen to you, fall ill. Bro, you could suffer right here on earth. You can genuinely suffer right here on earth. And on top of that, right, your wife, because listen, we talk about all of the street life and being with the hoes and being all of this stuff. And don't get me wrong, we love the hoes. I'm not going to sit here and try to tell you a lie. But I'm going to just tell you, who going to be there to take care of you if something was to ever happen? Who's going to hold you down? Somebody asked the question. Coach Chris asked the question very early in the show when he said, Anton, do you know who your real friends are? And I was like, you meet people where they are. But reality is, I guess it's the people that would hold you down in a tragedy. But you don't know until you have a tragedy. You know what I'm saying? That's why you got to stay prayed up. That's why you got to make sure that you do everything that you can and you leave it on the flow today. That's why you got to not complain and you got to give glory to God. That's why you got to make sure that you put all of your business and set your affairs in order and take care of business as much as you can. And then you enjoy life. And when you party like it's no tomorrow because you don't know. You just genuinely don't know. And you know what the craziest part about this whole situation is? Is that there are still diseases and diagnoses that we don't have a effing cure for, bro. There are things that we don't have a cure for. There's people in the chat right now that's so stupid, they so idiotic, they trying to focus on my money and I'm trying to have a conversation about ALS. Yo, Chris Johnson, I ain't never even heard of him doing nothing negative. I ain't never even... This is... Yo, I was not expecting to see it like this. I was not expecting for him to have to... This is a hard watch. I review videos every single day. I review tons of videos every day. Of all of the videos that I review, this one is a hard watch. This is probably one of the hardest watches from one of the best people that I've seen in a long time. We don't even know. We don't have a cure. We don't know where it comes from. It just shows up.
You know, his career, that it had to be something with that, maybe a pinched nerve.
And then the girl, she got to go through it. She got to be there. She got to go through it. She got to take care of him. She got to assist him. She got to get his appointments taken care of. Yo. I wish it was a way for us to be able to just like, hey, man, if I ever get to this point, pull the plug on me, bro. If I ever have a degenerative disease to where I lose my speech, I lose my ability to do stuff, I don't have the functions of my normal body, for me personally, take me out, bro. I don't want no parts of it. I don't want to finish out like that. I'm out. I don't want no special devices. I don't want no computers. I'm being for real. I'm dead serious. I don't want no special devices. I don't want no computers. I don't want to be comfortable. I don't want to be none of that. I just want off. I want out. I don't want nobody having control over me. Dang, man. Honestly, I'm just stalling because I just don't want to play this video, bro.
Or something along those lines, but never ALS.
And what did doctors tell you initially about your condition?
We hoped it was something else, but after thorough testing, They finally came down with a diagnosis of ALS. They told us about a medication that might extend life by a few months. Then they told us to get our affairs in order. It was hard hearing that, but after watching Good Morning America and seeing Dr. Merritt with Eric Dane, we reached out to her. She was willing to think more creatively, offering experimental treatments that might help and advance research.
Dr. Merritt Sikovich is a neurologist and leading ALS researcher at Mass General Brigham Neuroscience Institute.
Chris has been on standard of care, which is about 3 different medications that slow down the illness, but he was also part of a clinical trial, a therapy that decreases inflammation, and I think that helped him a lot.
With no family history of ALS, doctors believe his is a case of sporadic ALS, the most common form of the disease, affecting about 90% of patients, occurring randomly in people with no known family history of ALS.
That's one of the reasons this disease can be so shocking. It can happen to someone who never expected it.
And for me, it's shocking. It's hard to process it.
And this don't have nothing to do with football. Like, we always talk about, like, CTE and all of that type of stuff. This has nothing to do with football whatsoever. Nothing to do with his playing history. Nothing to do with none of that.
For me, because I know you, Chris, from just the incredible athlete that you are. How do you process it?
Honestly, I don't know if you ever fully process it. At first you're in shock, then you realize you have 2 choices. You can give up or you can fight. I chose to fight.
And Brittany, what was it like for you when you found out that Chris had ALS?
Heartbreaking.
All I could think about was our kids and how young they are. Just, you're in denial. You want it to be anything else. You want the doctors to be wrong. The life that we previously had is like now a thing of the past. But we're still hopeful. We're hopeful, you know, that a breakthrough will happen and that, or, you know, God, a miracle will happen, you know.
And what kind of support has helped you the most through this?
Without a doubt, my wife, Brittany, she hasn't left my side through any of this. My kids are also a huge part of why I keep going. Every day I wake up wanting more time with them to make more memories and just be their dad. They give me a reason to keep fighting.
Love it. I know, Brittany, the unsung heroes are the caregivers. So what has this been like for you?
Why does it happen to good people, though? You know what I'm saying? That's my thing. It's like, you got these monsters running around every day, YNs, killers, some of the most horrific people that didn't walk the earth, and it'll happen to somebody like a Chris Johnson. That's the weird part. It's almost like completely random. It's completely random. You got people be dying 80, 90 years in prison and good health, be having a whole boyfriend inside of prison, and then you'll get a Chris Johnson at 39 years old and he's completely degenerative.
It's tough. It's tough. Like, we have good days, we have bad days, you know. Our life has shifted so much and it's a heavy workload, but I have no doubt that this is what, you know, I was called to do.
So how has it progressed since you've been diagnosed?
It's continued to progress much faster than I ever imagined. I want people to understand just how quickly ALS can attack your body. Just over a year ago, I was picking up my 7-year-old daughter, so she make a wish with her birthday cake. Today, I couldn't do that.
And what do you hope people, or you wish people understood about living with ALS?
That your mind stays sharp. People sometimes look at the physical disability and assume you're not still the same person inside. I still think the same, I still dream, I still love my family. My body just doesn't cooperate.
That sucks. Oh, you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a bad dream. That sounds like, y'all ever had those type of dreams where you was trying to run fast and it was just, you couldn't go nowhere? Or you kept being clumsy in your dream, or you couldn't do nothing, or you was stuck. That's what that sounds like. It sounds like being perpetually stuck in a bad dream forever. That's what they sound just like that, bro.
Cooperate.
What are the doctors telling you about the treatment and the progression?
Having doctors who are willing to collaborate and explore every reasonable option has meant a lot to my family and me. Right now there isn't a cure, but we're seeing more research, more clinical trials, and more promising ideas than ever before. Seeing how hard these doctors and researchers are working gives me hope. As long as they're fighting for people with ALS, I'm going to keep fighting too.
Yeah, and I want to thank Chris and Brittany for inviting me to the home with their family for that.
That is heartbreaking. That is heartbreaking in the worst possible way. Prayers up for him. Prayers up for his family. Why y'all throw that on me at the end of the show? I didn't even know that was a thing. Why y'all throw that on me? Good gosh. Eesh. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you for all of my limbs. Thank you for being in my right mind. Thank you for being healthy. Thank you for the opportunity to really take advantage of the day. Thank you for being able to walk, drive, jump, do all of that. Live stream everything. Thank you, Jesus. Whew. I know that, Sanquan. It doesn't stop us from being human, though. I'm gonna read y'all super chats. Let me see what y'all talking about. Lyric the Gamer says, "What up, AD? Are you still gonna be hosting the men's night Mondays?" I am. I'm not gonna do it this Monday. I'm anticipating starting it at sometime after the 4th of July. So sometime after the 4th of July is when I'm gonna actually host it. And then we're gonna get it popping. I think, what day is the 4th of July? Let me see what day the 4th of July is. Calendar. All right, so the 4th is Saturday. So we'll probably do it on the 6th. The 6th is going to be the launch date of it. It's going to be on the 6th. All right. 6 is the launch day. So we revamping, actually, to be honest with you. I'm revamping the entire after hours platform. You know how the Millionaire Morning Show changed and we got a lot of different things going on and all of that stuff. I wanted to make sure that I got the Millionaire Morning Show fully up and running. And now I'm looking to revamp Room 9. After hours, Room 9. We're going to be going full throttle on after hours and Room 9 also. So, yep, we're going to start it and we're going to have a whole new lineup starting in the summer. And then we're going to really tackle it in the winter or in the fall. Great question. TS Car Wash and Detail Service says, I sent you the nightcap. I know, I just seen it. I literally just seen it pop up in my email. For everybody that asked for a coaching call, I do have your emails, and I'm working through it in the order in which it's received, all right? I sent you the nightcap. Thank you, TS. Manny Plays PC says, if I ever get something like ALS, I'm setting up the Tesla on auto drive for one last time and having it drive me off. Woo, this is where biotech and AI will be needed the most. Yep, this is where Neuralink actually could be useful and helpful. How is he talking? Through that machine, through his eyeballs. If you ever use the Apple Vision Pro, I use it at the crib sometimes, and see how you can use your eyeballs and you can do that type of stuff. Like the Get Out movie when Buddy couldn't move, says TS Car Wash and Detail Service. San Juan says, the Lord says it rains on the just and the unjust. Come on, Anti, you know this, but football definitely sped up his ALS. It's a neurological disorder. And if you've ever followed his career, you know he had a weird tic. Bad Habit says that's a real prison. Can't even fathom. I'm just thankful to have all of my senses and all of my limbs right now and to have y'all, all right? Listen, again, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Y'all are the greatest audience on earth. We back at it in the morning. And we're going to get to it. And I'm going to be posting something in the Patreon today. I'm actually going to be posting the next live stream, all right, inside of the Patreon. All right, so listen, I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. Thank y'all for continuing to rock out. Stay safe, stay blessed. Peace.